Chapter 675. Could that be the place where seven-colored spiritual master cultivates in seclusion? Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. Seven-colored spiritual master was a strong practitioner of the spirit embryo realm and a seventh-level true inscription master. How terrifying was he? How many treasures would there be in his seclusion? Lu Ming's heart palpitated with eagerness. Let's go, kid, let's go. I can already feel the calling of the treasure. Let's go. Dandan cried out. Its eyes were wide open and sparkling with luster. Let's go. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing didn't stop and continued forward. After a few hundred miles, their speed gradually slowed down. Although the palace was clearer from there were more and more inscription formations here, and they were more and more concentrated. If one wasn't careful, they would step into the inscription formations. Along the way, they saw quite a number of corpses. As they continued forward, it became even more dangerous. There were formations everywhere. Don't worry. With me here, what's an inscription formation carved by a mere 7th-level inscription master? Just you wait. Dandan jumped down from Lu Ming's shoulder and sprinted in the air with its two short legs. It looked left and right, sometimes deep in thought, sometimes looking at the landscape. After a while, Dandan flew back to Lu Ming's shoulder and said, "First, fly 3 miles to the right and land on that mound. Then, fly 5 miles forward and continue." Dandan began to give directions. "Hey, Dandan, is this reliable? This is a matter of life and death." Lu Ming looked at Dandan worriedly. "Nonsense, who am I? I am the head of the top 10 war beasts and have seen thousands of formations. What's this kind of formation? If I wasn't injured, this kind of childish plaything would be broken with a wave of my hand," Dandan said arrogantly. Lu Ming was speechless. He didn't really trust Dandan. This guy always dropped the ball at crucial moments. However, he was only a 3rd-level inscription master, and the inscriptions he had mastered were only 3rd-level inscriptions. His understanding of the inscription array was not enough. This was an array set up by a 7th-level inscription master, and he really could not see through it. We can only trust this guy now. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and followed Dandan's instructions with Xian Yanqing. They first flew 3 miles to the right and then 5 miles forward. Wang! More than 10 minutes later, inscriptions suddenly flashed on an ordinary-looking small mountain. A few resplendent sword lights condensed and slashed towards Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Nest, I misjudged. Run! Dandan yelled and ran away madly. She was faster than anyone else. Fuck, Lu Ming was cursing in his heart. He swept out his long spear and retreated quickly. Xian Yanqing also displayed the Sky Demon Force Field to block the sword lights. Puff! Xian Yanqing's Sky Demon Force Field was almost split in half in an instant. Be careful! Lu Ming shouted. The spear light surged and swept towards the 3 sword lights. At the same time, he pulled Xian Yanqing's little hand and retreated crazily. Bang! Bang! After a few roars, the spear light exploded. Lu Ming was blasted back several miles by a huge force before he could stand firm. Lu Ming felt the blood in his body surging. He almost vomited blood. His eyes were burning with anger. He looked at Dandan and gritted his teeth. Is this the level of your top 10 beasts? Do you want to kill us? Cough, cough. Lu Ming, calm down. Don't get too excited. I made a mistake and misjudged you. It won't happen again. I won't. Dandan also felt a little embarrassed and coughed a few times. Lu Ming was really speechless. This guy was really unreliable. But now, he could only rely on him. Lu Ming secretly swore in his heart that he must raise his inscription level as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would be too dangerous to rely on this guy. Dandan ran to the front again and observed carefully. After a while, he ran back and said confidently, "Don't worry, there will be no mistakes this time. Go ahead boldly." "I don't believe you," Lu Ming muttered in his heart. This time, he and Xian Yinqing were even more cautious. Boom! A small lake suddenly exploded, and the blade light violently slashed out. Nest! Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing turned around and ran. This time, they were much more careful. As soon as something was wrong, they turned around and ran. "You old turtle, you're deliberately tricking me." Lu Ming was furious. Cough, cough. "Young man, calm down. It's not good to be angry at such a young age. Look at that girl. How calm is she?" Dandan said awkwardly. "Lu Ming, I want to roast this little turtle." Xian Yinqing said coldly. Dandan's body trembled and ran forward. "Let me observe again. This time, there won't be any mistakes." Just like that, they stumbled forward. The further they went, the closer they were to the palace. However, the number of inscription formations also increased. A few hundred miles ahead of Lu Ming and the others, there were two figures. One of them was the patriarch of the Cloud Sea Pill Institution, Yun Luo. The other was a middle-aged man who only had the cultivation of a peak-tier king. At this moment, the middle-aged man's face was pale. "Senior, it's too dangerous ahead. If you let me scout ahead, I'll only die." "Oh, if you don't scout ahead, you'll die now. Choose for yourself," Yun Luo said coldly. The middle-aged man's face became even paler. He originally had 3 companions, but they were captured by Yun Luo to scout ahead for him. His other 3 companions had died because they were scouting ahead. Now, it was his turn. "Why aren't you going forward? If you scout ahead, there's still a chance of survival. We'll reach the palace soon. Perhaps after passing through this section, there won't be any more danger. You might still live. If you don't move, I'll kill you now." Yun Luo's voice was cold. The middle-aged man's expression changed. In the end, he gritted his teeth and carefully flew forward. The formation here was very strange. Only by moving through the gaps could one be unharmed. Otherwise, even flying through the air might trigger the formation. Moreover, there was even a formation in the air. The methods of a 7th-grade true inscription refinement master were already unfathomable. The middle-aged man focused his mind and made several turns here and there. After traveling for more than 10 miles, he did not encounter any problems. Just as he let out a sigh of relief, inscriptions flashed in the air. A battle sword formed and split the middle-aged man in half. "Damn it, useless trash!" Yun Luo roared. Now that the last person to scout ahead for him was dead, how was he going to enter? Even if his cultivation was strong and he could directly charge through some of the formations, there were still some that could kill him. He didn't dare to take the risk. Just as he was hesitating, a few figures appeared behind him and headed in his direction. Yun Luo turned around. When he saw who it was, his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. It was Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing. When Yun Luo saw Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing, Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing naturally saw Yun Luo as well. "Yun Luo, it's you?" Lu Ming was slightly taken aback. It was a little beyond his expectations. He didn't see Yun Luo when he was fighting the sea beasts, but now he saw Yun Luo here. Chapter 676. Ha ha ha, you 2 little bastards, you came at the right time. Be obedient and lead the way for me. Yun Luo laughed loudly, his face ferocious. It was because of Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing that he was besieged by the 4 young experts and lost an arm. Originally, he was about to break through to the 2nd layer of the spiritual sea realm, but because of losing an arm, his vitality was greatly damaged. Not only was his cultivation hard to break through, but it was also declining. Now, his cultivation could barely maintain at the peak of the first layer of the spiritual sea realm. After losing an arm, his battle power had decreased a little. His hatred for Lu Ming and the others could not be washed away even by the Yellow River. Lead the way for you? Yun Luo, you are dreaming. Why don't you lead the way yourself? Lu Ming glanced at the middle-aged man's body and sneered. Compared to the battle with Yun Luo, his and Xian Yinqing's battle power had greatly increased. Now, how could they be afraid of Yun Luo? But Yun Luo did not know that he was defeated because he was besieged by the 4 young experts. Now, there was only Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing. He was confident that he could suppress Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing. You don't want to lead the way? If you don't, I will kill you right now. Yun Luo said coldly. This is what I want to say to you. Last time, you ran away. This time, stay. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he strode forward. Xian Yinqing and Lu Ming walked side by side toward Yun Luo. You are looking for death. Yun Luo roared and waved his arm. 2 flame rings appeared, suppressing Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing. Boom! Lu Ming's long spear expanded, surrounded by the 3-colored conception. He threw out a spear, colliding with the 2 flame rings. With a boom, the 2 rings were blown back by Lu Ming. Yun Luo's expression changed greatly as he exclaimed, "How can you be so strong?" Sky Demon Force Field, Destruction Slice, Kill. Xian Yinqing shouted. She pushed her jade-like hand forward, and a powerful heavenly demon force field enveloped Yun Luo. Destructive and cutting power crazily erupted. Not good. Yun Luo's expression changed again. She kept waving her hand and unleashing her full power. Rings of fire appeared one after another, blocking the cutting power coming from all directions. Explosions rang out incessantly as sparks flew in all directions. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming's long spear shook, and immediately dozens of spear lights shot towards Yun Luo. Under Xian Yinqing's intentional control, the heavenly demon force field had no effect on Lu Ming's attack. Bang! Bang! Under the joint attack of Xian Yinqing and Lu Ming, Yun Luo was completely at a disadvantage. How is that possible? How could this be? How could these 2 little bastards become so strong? Damn it! Yun Luo was horrified and tried his best to resist. However, his combat strength was not as good as before. He was no match for Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing at all. He was completely suppressed. After a while, 2 more wounds appeared on his body. They were caused by the destruction slice. If he hadn't dodged in time, he would have been cut in half. Go, go, I will die if this continues. Yun Luo frantically retreated, but he was shrouded by the heavenly demon force field, and his speed was much slower. No matter how much he retreated, Xian Yinqing would immediately move forward and surround him. Whoosh! His neck was slashed by the spear light, and a bloody wound appeared. It almost pierced through his throat. Ah! He screamed. He was really afraid that he would die here. More and more wounds appeared on his body. Spare me, please spare me. I can give you 10 million supreme-grade spirit crystals. How about that? Yun Luo shouted. However, Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing's attacks became even more violent. 20 million, I will give you 20 million. Please spare me. Yun Luo shouted. Bang! Bang! What responded to him was Lu Ming's footwork. Lu Ming took large strides forward, getting closer and closer to Yun Luo. His attacks became more and more violent. As long as we kill you, your wealth will be ours. Why do we need you to give it to us? Lu Ming's voice was laced with sarcasm. Whoosh! As soon as his voice fell, Lu Ming turned into a spear light and shot out. Extreme Dao Strike. Puchi. The spear light pierced through Yun Luo's heart. Yun Luo roared, his voice full of unwillingness. If he knew that he would end up like this, he wouldn't have come to the Rainbow Island this time. The result of coming here was death. Bang! Lu Ming's long spear shook. Yun Luo was dead. He reached out and devoured Yun Luo's blood essence. As soon as Yun Luo's blood essence entered the Nine Dragons' bloodline, there was a violent roar. The energy was too terrifying, and Lu Ming had to refine it immediately. Shao Qing, I will cultivate for a while. Guard me. Having said that, Lu Ming sat down with his legs crossed and focused on refining the blood essence. Xian Yinqing looked at Lu Ming curiously. She didn't understand why Lu Ming wanted to cultivate all of a sudden. It took him half a day to refine all of Yun Luo's blood essence. Roar! The Nine Dragons' bloodline emerged and roared. Above the 8 dazzling chakras, a chakra suddenly emerged. The 9th silver chakra, a 9th grade king-class bloodline. Xian Yinqing's eyes widened and her mouth was slightly agape, revealing a look of disbelief. Bloodline upgrade. This guy can upgrade his bloodline. No wonder this guy is so abnormal. Every time I improve my strength, I can't surpass him. Xian Yinqing's beautiful eyes flickered. The light of the 9th chakra was dimmer than the other 8 chakras. This was because it had not reached its peak. After a while, the 9 dragons' bloodline disappeared into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming opened his eyes. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw a beautiful face in front of him. She was staring at him without blinking. She was only a few inches away from his face. Lu Ming could even feel Xian Yinqing's breathing. Lu Ming was shocked and said, "What are you doing? Are you trying to take advantage of me while I'm cultivating?" Take advantage of you? You wish. Xian Yinqing curled her lips and then looked at Lu Ming curiously. She said, "Your bloodline can upgrade." How wonderful. Lu Ming looked calm and was not surprised. When he was cultivating, he didn't intend to avoid Xian Yinqing. In fact, even if he did, Xian Yinqing would have guessed something. After all, he and Xian Yinqing had known each other for a few years. Xian Yinqing was very clear about the grade of his bloodline. Now that his bloodline had upgraded, Xian Yinqing must have been wondering about it. My first bloodline has an ability to devour the blood essence of humans and beasts to upgrade its grade. Lu Ming said without hiding anything. However, he didn't mention the name of his first bloodline. It was not that he didn't trust Xian Yinqing. On the contrary, he trusted Xian Yinqing very much. However, this matter was too serious. If something were to happen, not only him, but Xian Yinqing would be in danger too. It has such a wonderful ability. How wonderful! Xian Yinqing's eyes flickered as she exclaimed. I've only told you about it. I hope you won't tell anyone else. Otherwise, I'll be captured and used for research. Lu Ming said. You've only told me. Chapter 677. Of course, I didn't even tell my parents. Lu Ming said. Hee, I'm the only one you told. Xian Yinqing's face revealed a bright smile. Her eyes were full of smiles as she said, then you'll have to listen to me obediently in the future. Otherwise, hee. Xian Yinqing revealed a pair of beautiful canine teeth as he chuckled, looking very pleased with himself. Listen to you? Sure. Lu Ming walked towards Xian Yinqing with a smile. Really? Xian Yinqing's eyes lit up. Whoosh! Lu Ming suddenly hugged Xian Yinqing by the waist and slapped Xian Yinqing's perky buttocks. He laughed and said, Fake. How dare you threaten me? I'll spank you. Xian Yinqing was stunned for a moment. Then, her little face turned red. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws, shouting, "Lu Ming, how dare you hit me, hit me! I'm not done with you. Tisk, it's not the first time. It feels better than before. It's more flexible than before." Lu Ming muttered. Xian Yanqing screamed. Her true essence burst forth and escaped from Lu Ming's evil clutches. Her silver teeth creaked as she glared at Lu Ming. However, her face was red. Even the tips of her ears were red. It added a little girl's shyness and made her even more beautiful. "Little Qing, you're so beautiful," Lu Ming said subconsciously. Xian Yanqing blinked her big eyes and her face turned even redder. Suddenly, her face revealed a bright smile and said, "Humph, you have good taste. I'll let you go this time." "That works? Isn't that a little too fast?" Lu Ming was dumbfounded. "Nest, I can't stand it anymore. How dare you talk about love in front of me? Damn it, damn it. I must marry 3,000 concubines. I'll anger you to death, anger you to death." Dandan mumbled to himself as he ran to the front to observe the formation. Lu Ming was a little amused. Then, he looked at Xian Yanqing and said, "Little Qing, what about you? Are you hiding a lot of secrets from me?" "What secrets do I have?" Xian Yanqing blinked. "No. For example, I've met your elder sister before." Lu Ming asked. At the mention of this, Xian Yanqing's face immediately darkened and he didn't say anything. After a while, Xian Yanqing said, "It's not that I want to hide it from you, but now is not the time to tell you. Now is not the time to talk about it." "Why?" Lu Ming was puzzled. "It's very simple. It's because your cultivation is too weak. When you're strong enough, I'll naturally tell you." After Xian Yanqing finished speaking, he stopped talking. Strength? It seems that little Qing's background is really not that simple. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Since Xian Yanqing didn't want to talk about it now, Lu Ming didn't continue to ask. Dandan carefully checked the inscriptions. After a while, he continued to guide Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. The two continued to move forward. A few hours later, they finally passed through the layers of inscription formations and came to a mountain peak. On the mountain peak stood a palace. "There should be no inscription formations in front of us. We can go straight to the peak," Dandan said. Although Dandan said so, Lu Ming still didn't dare to be careless. He carefully went to the peak. At the peak of the mountain, there stood a huge palace, which was golden and magnificent. In front of the palace, there was a huge square. The square was completely paved with white jade, which was extremely luxurious. As soon as Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing arrived at the peak, they stopped and looked very dignified. Frostblade Spirit, Old Monster Hongqi, and the Flood Dragon. Lu Ming stared at the white jade square with a surprised look. Frostblade Spirit, Old Monster Hongqi, and the Flood Dragon were all in the square. However, both sides seemed to be in trouble. On the white jade square, inscriptions were densely packed and black. They were like small black snakes swimming around, forming an inscription formation. Both Frostblade Spirit and Old Monster Hongqi were covered with inscriptions. The black inscriptions were constantly drilling into their bodies. The two of them stood in the square and were trying their best to resist. However, they couldn't move their bodies. On the other side of the square, the Flood Dragon was facing the same situation. It was now in its human form, standing in the square. There were also countless inscriptions drilling into its body from all directions. What a wonderful inscription formation! The inscriptions seemed to be alive. Lu Ming stared at the inscriptions on the white jade square with amazement in his eyes. On the square, Frostblade Spirit and the others also saw Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Surprise flashed through the eyes of Cold Blade Spirit Warrior and Red Old Monster. They did not expect that there would be other people who had made it here. Moreover, it was such a young man and woman. Judging from their cultivation, they were only peak king warriors. In the next moment, ecstasy flashed in Frostblade Spirit's eyes. In the depths of his ecstasy, there was a trace of coldness as he yelled, "You too, you came at the right time. Right now, the flood dragon is trapped by the inscription formation and can't move. Go and kill it now." "No, little brother, you go alone. Leave that girl alive." Lu Ming sneered and said, "Senior, that flood dragon is too strong. I'm afraid I can't kill it." "Why can't you kill it?" "It's trapped and can't move. If it moves, it will be killed by the inscription formation." "Why can't you kill it by attacking its vitals?" Frostblade Spirit yelled. "How about this? If the two of us attack the flood dragon together, we will have a better chance." Lu Ming pointed at Xian Yanqing and said, "No, that girl has other things to do. Hurry up and do it. Don't miss this opportunity." Frostblade Spirit yelled. "No, Senior. I still don't think I can do it alone." Lu Ming said. "Nonsense. Kid, you should know who I am. I'm Frostblade Spirit. Now, I order you to kill that flood dragon immediately. Now." Frostblade Spirit's face darkened as he said in a commanding tone. Lu Ming sneered. This old guy finally couldn't hold back and showed his true colors. Lu Ming sneered and said, "Although I'm not talented, I still have some understanding of the inscription formation. This formation is very mysterious. If I attack the flood dragon, even if I can kill it, I will be trapped in the formation. With my cultivation, only death will await me if I fall into the formation. You want me to do it alone and leave my friend here so that she can help you break the formation around the square?" Frostblade Spirit's face became gloomier. He didn't expect that Lu Ming could see through his thoughts at such a young age. Yes, that was his plan. "Little guy, you're quite smart. But do you have any other choice now? If you don't do as I say, both of you will die when I come out. I advise you to do as I say. That girl can still live and you can die a quick death." Frostblade Spirit sneered and showed his ferocious face. "Really? We don't have any other choice? How come? We can take a detour from the side, enter the main hall, obtain the treasures inside, and then swagger out. Isn't this a better choice?" Lu Ming said with a smile. "Junior, how dare you? If you dare, I swear I'll make you wish you were dead." Chapter 678. Lu Ming sneered. This Han Dao spirit warrior was really shameless. When he was fighting with the flood dragon, he didn't care about the lives of others. He let others block the flood dragon for him while he ran away. In fact, with the strength of the Ice Blade Spirit Warrior, if he risked his life, it would not be a problem for him to hold off the flood dragon for a while until old monster Hongqi and the others arrived. However, he would not do that. He would rather let others sacrifice their lives so that he could protect himself as much as possible. Now, he wanted to do the same thing again. He wanted Lu Ming to kill the flood dragon with his life. After killing the flood dragon, he would ask Xian Yanqing to attack the formation base. Did he think others were fools? If they didn't agree, he would threaten them. Was the third tier of the spiritual sea realm that great? "Old man, I have a shortcoming. I hate it when people threaten me. The more they threaten me, the more I will go against them. As I said before, I happen to know some inscriptions. This formation has been engraved for a long time, so its power has decreased greatly. The energy of the spirit crystals in some places has been used up. It seems that I need to replenish some spirit crystals." Lu Ming said lightly. "Little bastard, how dare you?" The Han Dao spirit warrior's face was cold. "Why wouldn't I dare? You are nothing in my eyes." Lu Ming curled his lips and flew to the edge of the square. There were some potholes on the edge of the square. That was the formation base. There were many supreme-grade spirit crystals inlaid on it. But some of the spirit crystals were broken and had lost their spirituality. There was no energy left. Lu Ming pointed at a pothole and moved his finger. The useless spirit crystals in the pothole flew out. A perfect supreme-grade spirit crystal appeared in Lu Ming's hand. He waved his hand, and the supreme-grade spirit crystal was inlaid into the pothole. The inscriptions around the pothole brightened a little. "Stop it! Stop it!" The Han Dao spirit warrior roared. "Stop? Sure, kneel down and beg me." Lu Ming turned his head and smiled at the Frost Saber spirit cultivator. "Kneel down and beg you? Little bastard, who do you think you are? How dare you ask me to kneel down and beg you?" The Han Dao spirit warrior was stunned for a moment and then roared. "Forget it if you don't want to kneel." Lu Ming's fingers kept moving. He took out the useless supreme spiritual crystals one by one and put in the intact supreme spiritual crystals. He was very fast. Soon, Lu Ming had put in hundreds of supreme spiritual crystals. The inscriptions on the formation grew brighter and brighter, and its power grew stronger and stronger. "Little bastard, if I don't kill you, I swear I'm not human." The Frostblade Spirit Master's killing intent was bone-chilling. He hated Lu Ming to the bone. Roar! At this moment, the Flood Dragon let out an earth-shattering roar and stepped toward the edge of the square. As soon as it moved, the inscription formation began to operate crazily. Countless inscriptions seemed to have come to life and turned into swords and sabers that slashed at the Flood Dragon. The Flood Dragon roared and a halberd appeared in his hand. He swung it around to block the attacks from all directions. Clearly, the Flood Dragon was very decisive. It knew that if it continued, the situation would become more and more disadvantageous for it. It wanted to charge out of the array with its life on the line. Boom! Boom! The sabers and swords formed by the inscription formation were extremely powerful and there seemed to be no end to them. They kept slashing at the Flood Dragon. Puff! Even though the Flood Dragon's defense was amazing, it was still cut open by the sharp swords and blood flowed out. However, the Flood Dragon ignored it and rushed out crazily. Every time it took a step, the white jade ground would rumble. Countless inscriptions covered the Flood Dragon and eventually turned into flames, wrapping the Flood Dragon in them. Roar! With a shocking roar, the Flood Dragon turned into its original form, which was only a dozen meters long. Its body shot out rays of blue divine light and the halberd slashed horizontally. Even so, every time the Flood Dragon stepped a meter forward, there would be an additional wound on its body. At the same time, it had to face the burning flames. No wonder it's a Flood Dragon. What a strong physical body! Lu Ming exclaimed. In the face of such an attack, a human martial artist might not be able to withstand it. However, the Flood Dragon withstood it and kept rushing out. It was getting closer and closer to the outside of the formation. Damn it! Cold Saber Spirit Master and Old Monster Hongqi were anxious. If the Flood Dragon went out first, the treasures in the hall would fall into its hands. Xiaoqing, let's go into the hall first. Lu Ming's face also changed. If the Flood Dragon came out, they would not be its match. The two of them rushed along the side of the square and were about to rush to the hall. Stop! The Flood Dragon roared and its two dragon horns emitted a bright light. Two rays of blue divine light, like two extremely sharp swords, shot through the inscription formation and shot toward Lu Ming and Old Monster Hongqi. Lu Ming blocked it with the Infinite Dragon Spear. The huge force made Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing retreat rapidly. Buzz! The Infinite Dragon Spear kept vibrating in his hand. Fortunately, it was a level 6 upper spiritual weapon. If it were a level 5 spiritual weapon, it would have been shattered. The flood dragon roared and rushed out crazily without caring about its injuries. Its speed was greatly increased. In just a few breaths, the flood dragon rushed out of the inscription formation, but in exchange, it was covered with wounds. There were at least dozens of wounds on the flood dragon's body. Its dragon scales were torn and its flesh was badly mutilated. Some of the wounds exposed its snow-white bones. Even the bones were cut open. However, the flood dragon's body was too strong and its vitality was terrifying. With such serious injuries, its breath was a little weak, but it did not fall down. It glanced at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing, but did not attack. Instead, it rushed into the hall. This flood dragon is in such a hurry to rush to the hall. There must be great treasures inside. Let's go in and have a look. Lu Ming said to Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing also nodded. Although the flood dragon was powerful, it was too injured to maintain its peak combat strength. If the flood dragon attacked them, the two of them were confident to escape together. That was why they dared to follow it. The two of them followed the flood dragon and rushed into the hall. Damn it, little bastard! The Frostblade spiritual master roared. They did not dare to rush in like the flood dragon. They did not have a strong body like the flood dragon. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing and the flood dragon rushed into the hall one after another. The hall was very spacious. As soon as they rushed in, Lu Ming felt a huge pressure. Even his 9 dragons bloodline was agitated. Lu Ming's spine was filled with red light. Lu Ming looked at the center of the hall in shock. There was a mass of blood floating there. On the surface of the blood, there were small true dragons swimming constantly. A huge pressure spread out. This pressure was like the pressure of the ancestor of all beasts and the king of all kings. It was terrifying and could subdue everything. A true dragon, the blood of a true dragon. Before Lu Ming spoke, Dandan on his shoulder shouted first. The blood of a true dragon. Yes, this mass of blood was the blood of a true dragon. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were shocked. They never expected that there would be a mass of blood of a true dragon in the Rainbow Spiritual Master's palace. Moreover, this mass of blood seemed to have just flowed out of a true dragon and had spirituality. Chapter 679. What was a true dragon? It was a supreme divine beast. It had been extinct in the eastern wilderness for many years. Lu Ming had once obtained a true dragon's phalanx. However, the phalanx's spirituality had almost completely dissipated after so many years. There was not much essence left. However, this true dragon's blood had completely preserved its spirituality and essence. Its value was incomparable. It was no wonder that the flood dragon was willing to risk its life to rush into the palace. The temptation of a real dragon's blood was too strong for a flood dragon. If a flood dragon swallowed the blood, it would undergo a shocking transformation. Its future potential was limitless. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox. It seemed that the flood dragon was after this true dragon's blood when the sea beasts attacked the island. He wondered how the flood dragon knew that there was true dragon's blood on the Rainbow Island. I want to eat it. I want to eat this true dragon's blood. Dandan's eyes widened as it screamed. It ran toward the true dragon's blood with its 2 legs. At this moment, Lu Ming's 9 dragons bloodline also appeared. He let out a loud roar, feeling an incomparable desire. Roar! The flood dragon roared and its body grew rapidly. It whipped its tail on Dandan's body and sent Dandan flying. Ah! You little worm! How dare you whip me? I'm not done with you. Dandan screamed and slammed into the wall of the main hall, creating a dent in the wall and embedding herself in it. Little worm, you're dead. You're dead. Ouch! My old waist. Dandan's cursing voice could be heard. Lu Ming was relieved. He knew that the flood dragon's defense was amazing. He would not be hurt so easily. Roar! After sending Dandan flying, the flood dragon pounced on the true dragon's blood. Stop it! Lu Ming strode forward, his long spear expanding and attacking the flood dragon. Heavenly Demon Force Field. Xian Yinqing pressed her hand and the Heavenly Demon Force Field exploded, enveloping the flood dragon. Scram! A loud roar came from the flood dragon's mouth as a gigantic halberd flew out and collided with Lu Ming's gigantic spear qi, destroying Lu Ming's spear qi in one fell swoop. Immediately after, the flood dragon's gigantic body shook violently. Xian Yinqing's complexion changed and he was forced to retreat. The flood dragon was really too strong. Although its level was only at the early stage of the second layer of the spiritual sea realm, it could suppress the peak of the third layer of the spiritual sea realm, Frostblade Spirit Practitioner, and battle with 3 powerful third-layer spiritual sea realm experts. Even that old monster Lu Xian might have been killed by the flood dragon. Although the flood dragon was heavily injured and its battle prowess was greatly reduced, its strength was definitely not weaker than the peak of the second layer of the spiritual ocean tier. It was not something that Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing could rival. After pushing back Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing, the flood dragon flew forward, opened its mouth wide, and swallowed the dragon blood in one gulp. Roar! After swallowing the dragon blood, the flood dragon let out an excited roar that shook the sky. A layer of bloody light spread out from the flood dragon's body, and the injuries on its body began to heal at a visible speed. The dragon blood's effect was indeed amazing, especially for the flood dragon. It took effect so quickly. Not only that, but the flood dragon's aura was also rising rapidly. Go, let's get out of here quickly. Lu Ming's expression was solemn. Since they could not get the true dragon blood, they had to leave quickly. If they waited until the flood dragon's injuries were healed, it would be too late for them to leave. Bang! Dandan flew out from the wall and landed on Lu Ming's shoulder, still cursing. Who is it? Who are you? Get out, get out! At this moment, the flood dragon suddenly roared crazily. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing were a little stunned. Was this directed at them? But it didn't look like it. Lu Ming, look, the flood dragon's eyes are not right. Xian Yinqing said. Lu Ming looked at the flood dragon's eyes and saw that in addition to excitement and ecstasy, there was also fear and horror in the flood dragon's eyes. Get out, get out, get out of my body! The flood dragon roared, and its huge body rolled in the hull. Ha ha ha, I've waited for 800 years and finally a flood dragon has appeared. You're asking me to get out? How is that possible? Lend your body to this old man. An old voice came out from the flood dragon's body. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing were extremely shocked. What was going on? It's fake, you deliberately left clues outside and left this cloud of true dragon blood. It's all fake. The flood dragon roared crazily. Ha ha ha, I didn't wait for 800 years in vain. I will finally return to the world. The old voice laughed loudly once again. A layer of blood mist spread out from the flood dragon's head, which looked very strange. 7-colored spiritual master, that's the 7-colored spiritual master. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he thought of a possibility. But how was that possible? The 7-colored spiritual master was only in the spirit embryo realm, so how could he have survived until now? And from the looks of it, he was going to take over the flood dragon's body. Good move, good move. That 7-colored spiritual master is a 7th level true inscription refiner. He fused his consciousness into the fire of consciousness and then used the blood of a true dragon to seal the fire of consciousness. That's how he could survive for 800 years. As long as the flood dragon swallows the dragon blood, when the dragon blood flows through the flood dragon's body, he will be able to destroy the flood dragon's soul and take over its body. Dandan's eyes flashed as it spoke. Huh, I didn't expect a little turtle to have some knowledge. The old voice came out. Get out, get out. The flood dragon kept shouting. What are you shouting for? It's your honor to have your body used by me. In the future, I will make your name resound in the world. The old voice sneered. Kill me now. As long as you kill me, it's useless for this old man to take over my body. I'd rather die than let my body become a puppet. The flood dragon suddenly looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Juniors, how dare you ruin my plan. I will make sure you die without a burial ground. The seven-colored spiritual master shouted coldly. Hurry up, I can't hold on any longer. If this old man completely takes over my body, he will definitely kill you to silence you. He won't let this secret be known by others. The flood dragon roared. His eyes kept flashing and his speech was no longer smooth. He seemed to be unable to hold on any longer. His soul was about to be destroyed. The soul of a demonic beast was originally weaker than that of a human. Lu Ming, let's attack. This flood dragon is right. If the seven-colored spiritual master succeeds, he will definitely not let us go. Xian Yanqing said. All right, let's do it. Lu Ming's gaze was resolute. He made up his mind and prepared to attack. Roar. The flood dragon let out a shocking roar. It actually stretched out a sharp claw and clawed at its own chest. What are you doing? The seven-colored spiritual master roared. He seemed to be fighting with the flood dragon for control of his body, causing the claw to weaken. However, the scales on the flood dragon's chest were still scratched off and blood flowed out. Attack here. This is the vital point. Chapter 680. Attack. Lu Ming roared as he stepped forward and stabbed his spear at the flood dragon's vital point. Don't even think about it. Now, die. A purple figure appeared on top of the flood dragon's head. This figure was completely condensed from the spiritual fire. The purple spiritual fire represented a level 7 inscription master. It looked like an old man, but his face was extremely gloomy. With a wave of his hand, inscriptions flew out. Buzz. At that instant, lines of inscriptions were emitted from the palace, emitting a brilliant glow. Whoosh! A battle sword flew out and slashed at Lu Ming's spear. Lu Ming's body shook and he quickly retreated. Countless inscriptions shone in the hall, enveloping Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. The seven-colored Taoist had long inscribed an inscription array in the hall. He seemed to have prepared to kill anyone who entered the hall 800 years ago. Die! The seven-colored Taoist shouted coldly. He waved his hands and countless inscriptions flew out. In the hall, the inscriptions shone brighter. Black inscriptions wriggled like small snakes. Sky Demon Force Field. Xian Yanqing used the Sky Demon Force Field to envelop himself and Lu Ming. He used the Sky Demon Force Field to resist the inscription array around them. Sure enough, under the Sky Demon Force Field, the inscriptions slowed down. Let's retreat. Since they couldn't kill him, they could only retreat. You want to leave? I say, no one can leave today. The seven-colored Taoist sneered. He waved his hands and the inscriptions around him became even more terrifying. They formed a battle sword and slashed at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. These arrays had been around for 800 years, but they were still as powerful as ever. Although the two tried their best to resist, they were still completely suppressed. They were surrounded by danger and were in extreme danger. Damn it, do you really think I'm a decoration? Watch me. Dandan opened its mouth and spat out 3 jade tokens. It kept one for itself and the other two flew towards Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming. "What is this?" Lu Ming asked. "The shadow-shifting talisman can move anywhere. Even in this inscription formation, you can come and go freely. It took me a lot of effort to refine this talisman. Crush it quickly and kill that flood dragon." Dandan shouted. In this situation, he could only trust Dandan. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing received the jade talismans and crushed them. Immediately, a curtain of light enveloped Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Dandan also crushed a piece, and a similar light screen enveloped him. Whoosh! Dandan dashed out like a phantom. The inscriptions had no effect on it. How wonderful! Lu Ming's heart stirred and he dashed out as well. True enough, when his figure passed by, it was like a phantom. Those inscriptions actually passed through his body and did not have any effect at all. Shadow-shifting talisman, how did you get the shadow-shifting talisman? This ancient talisman has been lost for countless years. How did you get it? The seven-colored Taoist shouted in disbelief. Who am I? During this period, I desperately refined a few pieces. I wanted to save them for some dangerous places, but I didn't expect to use them now. It's your honor to see my shadow-shifting talisman. Dandan laughed proudly. Kill. Lu Ming was too lazy to talk nonsense. He stabbed his spear toward the flood dragon. The flood dragon did not resist at all. It faced Lu Ming with its chest and let him kill it. Damn it! The seven-colored Taoist roared again and again, desperately controlling the flood dragon's body to attack. Don't even think about it. The flood dragon was obviously not completely occupied by the seven-colored Taoist and was desperately trying to control its body. Xian Yanqing walked over and used the heavenly demon force field to shroud the flood dragon's body and help to imprison it. Puchi. Lu Ming's long spear pierced the flood dragon's chest. Here, the scales had already been clawed off by the flood dragon, so its defense was greatly reduced. The incomparably sharp spear light easily pierced through the flood dragon's muscles and into its heart. No! The seven-colored Taoist roared. Ha, old monster, you want to take my body? Dream on. The flood dragon laughed crazily. Boom! Lu Ming's long spear shook and a burst of true essence surged into it, smashing the flood dragon's heart into pieces. Whoosh! Whoosh! At the same time, more than a dozen battle swords formed by the inscription array slashed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming pulled out his long spear and retreated quickly. With a bang, the flood dragon's body fell heavily to the ground. Old monster, you've been plotting for 800 years and you've failed in the end. The flood dragon laughed heartily. Slowly, its voice lowered and its life force dissipated. Damn it, you're all going to die today. The seven-colored Taoist roared crazily. Before he died, he had set up a trap with a ball of true dragon blood and left clues outside in order to attract a flood dragon and then occupy its body. With the true dragon blood as a medium, he was confident that he could succeed. The lifespan of monsters was much longer than that of humans, especially for creatures like the flood dragon. With a long lifespan, the seven-colored Taoist could explore a higher realm. Unfortunately, the flood dragon was dead and it was useless for him to occupy it. Refine. Hoo! A layer of purple flames suddenly appeared on the flood dragon's body. The purple flames wrapped around the flood dragon and burned it crazily. As it burned, the flood dragon's body shriveled and the purple flames became stronger and stronger. In the end, the purple flames gathered in the air and formed a human figure. It was the seven-colored Taoist. Retreat. For some unknown reason, Lu Ming suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart. He pulled Xian Yanqing and retreated hurriedly. Very soon, they left the main hall. You want to leave? Without the flood dragon, kid, your body is not bad. Let me use it. The seven-colored Taoist smiled sinisterly. The purple flames turned into a stream of light and flew towards Lu Ming. Fast, too fast. It crossed the hall in an instant. It was several times faster than Lu Ming and the others. It was really like a stream of light. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing had just retreated to the entrance of the hall when the purple flames caught up with them. They shot directly towards Lu Ming's forehead and disappeared into Lu Ming's forehead. Not good, he wants to seize Lu Ming's body and destroy Lu Ming's soul. Xian Yinqing's expression changed drastically. His eyes were filled with worry. It's over, it's over. Little beauty, Lu Ming is finished. Your little lover is finished. Dandan shouted. What should we do? What should we do? Is there any way to save him? Dandan, aren't you an expert? Quickly think of a way. Xian Yinqing was extremely anxious. He was like an ant on a hot pan. His eyes were misty and he almost shed tears. At this moment, Lu Ming's forehead was covered with a layer of purple light. He sat cross-legged and seemed to be resisting with all his strength. There is a way, but I don't know if you're willing. Dandan touched its chin with one of its front paws. What way? Tell me, I'm definitely willing. Xian Yinqing said anxiously. Is that so? Alright, I know a way. I want you and Lu Ming to practice the dual cultivation technique. This way, your soul can be transferred to Lu Ming's side and help him fight against the seven-colored Taoist. This way, your chances of winning will be much higher. Chapter 681. WH. What? Dual cultivation? Xian Yinqing was stunned, and then his face turned red. What? You don't want to? Then forget it. Let's run away quickly. Lu Ming's body will definitely be taken by that old man. Sigh. Lu Ming sighed. Xian Yinqing bit his lips and his face turned red. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said, Okay, I agree. You can leave. I leave? No need. You guys start. I'll watch here and help you guard. Dandan said, his eyes rolling. What about the cultivation method? Xian Yinqing said. Cultivation method? What cultivation method? Dandan answered subconsciously. That dual cultivation method. After saying that, Xian Yinqing's eyes flashed. He couldn't help but take a closer look at Dandan. He saw that Dandan's eyes were rolling and his mouth was grinning. He looked like he wanted to laugh but was holding back. Dandan, are you lying to me? You're lying to me, right? Xian Yinqing stared. Ha ha ha, little beauty, you saw through me. Ha, I just wanted to see if you care about Lu Ming. I didn't expect that I would see through you. Dandan finally couldn't hold back and laughed. You cheap turtle, I'm going to eat you. Xian Yinqing's face was red. He bared his teeth and rushed over to grab Dandan. He wanted to bite him. Then he looked at Lu Ming with some worry and said, Is Lu Ming really okay? Don't worry. That old man actually dared to have designs on Lu Ming. He's simply courting death. Moreover, Lu Ming kid can obtain a great fortune. This kid is so lucky that even I am a little envious. Dandan said with a relaxed face. Are you really okay? Xian Yinqing asked. Of course it's fine, it's definitely fine. Dandan said confidently. Then, it saw Xian Yinqing gritting his teeth and glaring at it fiercely. Did he just get tricked by Dandan? Xian Yinqing's heartbeat quickened and her face flushed red. She wished she could find a hole to crawl into when she thought about how she had almost dual cultivated with Lu Ming. I wonder if that guy heard it? I don't think he heard it. At the thought that Lu Ming might have heard it, Xian Yanqing wished he could roast Dandan. Hey, what are you doing? Why are you looking at me like that? I'm doing this for your own good, you know. You'll have to do it sooner or later anyway, so why don't you do it early? Young people like to drag things out. I'm getting anxious. Dandan shouted. Who's going to do that kind of thing with that guy? A ball of flame appeared in Xian Yanqing's hand and enveloped Dandan. Nest, it's killing someone. No, it's killing a turtle. Help! Dandan shouted and retracted its head into the turtle shell. The turtle shell glowed and blocked the flames. At this moment, a great battle was going on in Lu Ming's Sea of Consciousness. How is this possible? Geocentric flowing flame. Your spiritual fire is ignited by the geocentric flowing flame. The seven-colored Taoist screamed in horror. At this moment, the seven-colored Taoist's spiritual fire was wrapped in a ball of yellow flames. Just now, when the seven-colored Taoist came in, he wanted to extinguish Lu Ming's spiritual fire and replace it. But he had never dreamed that the essence of Lu Ming's spiritual fire was the geocentric flowing flame. The geocentric flowing flame was an extremely powerful flame. It was one of the top flames in the world. Not only did the seven-colored Taoist fail to extinguish Lu Ming's spiritual fire, but he was also surrounded by Lu Ming's spiritual fire. Damn it, damn it! The seven-colored Taoist shouted, and his purple spiritual fire turned into a human form. He waved his hands, and a purple battle sword appeared, trying to break through the encirclement of Lu Ming's spiritual fire. Hoo! Lu Ming's spiritual fire suddenly changed and turned into a huge nether god. It held a long spear and stabbed at the seven-colored Taoist. This was the nether god transformed by the nether god visualization. Lu Ming was using the nether god visualization at this moment. Bang! The seven-colored Taoist's battle sword was defeated, but the long spear didn't stop and stabbed at the seven-colored Taoist's body. The seven-colored Taoist screamed, and his body scattered, turning into a purple flame that floated back and then reformed. Spiritual fire cultivation technique. You actually mastered the spiritual fire cultivation technique. The seven-colored Taoist screamed hysterically, and his voice was filled with endless fear. It seemed that he was even more terrified than when he learned about the geocentric flowing flame. Die! The nether god gave off a terrifying aura as he stepped forward and stabbed with his spear. Run, run! The seven-colored Taoist turned into a streak of light and ran. Where do you think you're going in my spiritual sea? The next moment, the nether god appeared in front of the seven-colored Taoist and stabbed with his spear. With a poof, the seven-colored Taoist was scattered again and turned into a ball of flame. In Lu Ming's Sea of Consciousness, he was the master of this place and had complete control over it. How could the seven-colored sage escape? This time, the seven-colored Taoist took a long time to reform the scattered flames. Spare me, young hero, spare me. The seven-colored Taoist started to beg for mercy. You wanted to kill me, and now you want me to spare you? Do you think that's possible? Lu Ming sneered. Young hero, as long as you spare me, I can teach you how to refine pills and inscribe arrays. I can teach you all my experience. The seven-colored Taoist yelled. Hee, I don't feel at ease facing an old monster like you. I'm more at ease facing a dead person. Lu Ming wasn't moved at all and stabbed with his spear. Pang! The flames were scattered again. Then, Lu Ming turned into a ball of flame again and surrounded the seven-colored Taoist's purple flames. The seven-colored Taoist screamed. His soul and consciousness were being burned by the geocentric flowing flame and slowly dissipated. No matter how he begged or cursed, Lu Ming wasn't moved. A moment later, the seven-colored Taoist's voice completely disappeared. His consciousness had been completely refined by Lu Ming, and only a ball of pure spiritual fire was left. At this moment, the seven-colored Taoist spiritual fire was being refined, and wisps of it floated towards Lu Ming's spiritual lamp. Lu Ming originally only lit 8 yellow spiritual lamps, but now, the first 8 continued to burn, and the 9th lamp suddenly emitted a wisp of flame. Although it was only a wisp of flame, it meant that Lu Ming had lit the 9th lamp. A level 3 inscription master had 9 lamps. He was only 1 lamp away from perfection. Moreover, as the geocentric flowing flame continued to refine the seven-colored Taoist's spiritual fire, the flame of the 9th spiritual lamp began to grow brighter and brighter. It was 108,000 times faster than when he was cultivating. Lu Ming was overjoyed and excited. He could actually refine the seven-colored Taoist spiritual fire for his own use and improve his spiritual fire. Chapter 682. Moreover, as the seven-colored Taoist spiritual fire was refined and fused into his own spiritual fire, it brought along some scattered fragments. Those were fragments of the seven-colored Taoist's experience regarding inscription, alchemy, and inscription arrays. This was the seven-colored Taoist's lifetime experience of cultivating the Tao of inscription. It was slowly fused into Lu Ming's spiritual fire and was grasped by Lu Ming. Lu Ming simply wanted to look up to the sky and laugh. This was an opportunity, a supreme opportunity. After all, Lu Ming had only been cultivating the path of inscription for a short period of time. Although his mental fire was perfect at every level, he was still inexperienced and inexperienced. Although he had mastered millions of level 1, level 2, and level 3 inscriptions that Dandan had given him, he didn't know how to combine them and how to use them. This was something that had to be slowly explored. This was experience. But now, he had refined the seven-colored Taoist's spiritual fire and fused with his experience. Although these experiences were still scattered, as long as Lu Ming refined more of the seven-colored Taoist spiritual fire, he would definitely gain more and more experience. His knowledge of the Tao of inscription would definitely advance by leaps and bounds. Although the true dragon's blood had been burned and dried up by the seven-colored Taoist, it was enough to obtain such an opportunity. To Lu Ming, it was even more precious than a ball of true dragon's blood. At this moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes. In the sea of consciousness, refining the mental fire was not something that could be done in a short period of time. It was constantly being refined. Lu Ming's mental fire was constantly improving. "Huh, kid, you've struck it big this time, right?" Seeing Lu Ming open his eyes, Dandan laughed. "Yes, I've indeed struck it big." Lu Ming smiled slightly. Xian Yinqing's face was still a little red. She blinked her big eyes and looked at Lu Ming, then looked in other directions as if she didn't dare to look at Lu Ming. "Hey, little Qing, we seem to have other things to do just now. Why don't we continue now?" Lu Ming looked at Xian Yinqing with a smile and said. Xian Yinqing's face suddenly turned red. She knew that Lu Ming must have heard everything that had happened before. "Continue, my ass. A big pervert with a perverted tortoise. You're really jackals of the same tribe." Xian Yinqing gritted her teeth and blushed. She turned her head and didn't look at Lu Ming. "Kid, I've been generous this time, right? Quickly give me some spiritual herbs as a reward." Dandan shouted. Dandan Lin said. Dandan Taoist, Dandan Taoist, Dandan was overjoyed and swallowed them all. Dandan was Don. At the sight of this, Xian Yinqing gritted her silver teeth and her eyes widened to the size of copper bells. There was a raging fire in her eyes as she pounced on Lu Ming with bared fangs and brandished claws. "Let's see if there are any other treasures in the main hall." Lu Ming quickly changed the topic and dashed into the main hall in a flash. After walking around the hall, he found that there was nothing there. It was completely empty. Where were the treasures left behind by the seven-colored Taoist? Where was the storage ring? Why was there nothing? Lu Ming was a little depressed. If he had known, he would have interrogated the seven-colored Taoist and made him tell him where the treasures were hidden before killing him. He walked around and returned to the side of the flood dragon's body. It was a pity that the blood and essence of the flood dragon's body had been burned by the seven-colored Taoist. Otherwise, the flood dragon's blood essence would be a great supplement. He could even refine the blood of a true dragon. This flood dragon's body is full of treasures. Keep it. Lu Ming waved his hand and put the flood dragon's body into a storage ring. Xia Nianqing angrily followed beside Lu Ming. Little Qing, let's go out. Lu Ming said with a smile. Humph. Xia Nianqing snorted coldly. He ignored Lu Ming and walked out. Lu Ming smiled and followed her out. When they arrived at the edge of the square, they found that the two were still trapped there. Little bastard, stop right there. Where's the flood dragon? What's wrong? What treasures did you get? Hand them over. The moment he saw Lu Ming and Xia Nianqing, the Frost Blade spirit shouted. Idiot, you're really an idiot. I think you've lived for so long in vain. In this situation, instead of kneeling and begging me, you're actually threatening me. Lu Ming shook his head and said contemptuously. Little bastard, what did you say? The Frost Blade spirit shouted angrily. Lu Ming shook his head. He could not be bothered to talk nonsense. He exchanged thousands of spirit crystals around the array to increase the power of the array. You two, enjoy yourselves here. Lu Ming waved his hand and swaggered away with Xia Nianqing. Behind them, only the roars of the Frost Blade spirit and old monster Hongqi could be heard. Dandan, that form-shifting talisman of yours is quite useful. Make a few more when you're free. On the way, Lu Ming looked at Dandan expectantly. Okay, give me the materials. Form-connecting jade. Dandan stretched out a claw. Form-connecting jade? What form-connecting jade? Lu Ming was stunned. Nonsense, of course it's the materials. Without form-connecting jade, how can I make a talisman? I don't think you have it either. I found the previous few when I saw you cleaning other people's storage rings. That's why I made a few form-shifting talismans. Dandan curled its lips. Lu Ming remembered that Dandan had indeed coaxed and pestered him once and took away a piece of jade from him. Initially, he had thought that it was an ordinary jade. He did not expect it to be a form-forming jade. Lu Ming, let me tell you, form-connecting jade is very rare. With my current strength, it can only be used in a 6th-level inscription array. The array set by the seven-colored spiritual master is only as powerful as a 6th-level inscription array after so many years. That's why it can be used. So, don't think you can use form-shifting talismans to walk in various arrays. It's unrealistic. Dandan said mercilessly. Lu Ming was depressed. He did have the idea to let Dandan make a pile of form-shifting talismans. Then he wouldn't be afraid of any arrays in the future. It seemed that there was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. The two of them and the tortoise followed the original path and got out of the area that was full of inscription formations without any danger. Let's go to other places to search for spiritual herbs. Lu Ming said. Next, they chose another direction and went to look for spiritual herbs. Although the Rainbow Island was big, it was still limited. This place had already been searched. In the next 3 days, although the two of them had some gains, they didn't gain much. However, Lu Ming's spiritual fire had undergone earth-shattering changes. His spirit fire was increasing at a crazy rate with every passing moment. In just 3 days, not only did he ignite 10 spiritual lamps at the 3rd level, but he also stepped into the range of a 4th-level inscriptionist. Now, he had already ignited 8 green spiritual lamps. A 4th-level inscriptionist and 8 green spiritual lamps. In just 3 days, Lu Ming's spiritual fire had increased by a whole realm. Chapter 683. The seven-colored spiritual master was a level 7 true inscription master. At every level, he would ignite at least 6 spirit lamps. How large was his spirit fire? Although Lu Ming ignited 10 spirit lamps at every level, he was only a level 3 inscription master before. The difference between him and a level 7 inscription master was too great. In comparison, the difference between a martial grandmaster realm practitioner and a spirit embryo realm practitioner was like heaven and earth. It was unknown how far they were apart. Therefore, the seven-colored spiritual master's spirit fire was still rapidly increasing Lu Ming's spirit fire. Moreover, it contained fragments of the seven-colored spiritual master's experience. Lu Ming's experience in alchemy and inscription formations was becoming more and more abundant. Hey, look, there's another palace ahead. Xian Yanqing suddenly pointed ahead and said in surprise. Lu Ming looked over. Indeed, there was a mountain range ahead. On one of the mountain peaks, there was another palace. Could it be that the seven-colored spiritual master cultivated in more than one palace? Could it be that all his treasures are hidden in the palace ahead? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Obviously, Xian Yanqing also had the same guess. Kill, kill. Kill and take all the treasures. Dandan shouted. Shua. Shua. Lu Ming turned into 2 streaks of light and flew over. But not long after, they stopped. In front, there were 2 streaks of light, one in front and one behind, rushing over. In front was a golden sword light. In the sword light was a young man in his 20s. He was extremely handsome and emitted a powerful aura. Obviously, this young man was being chased by a streak of light from behind. The streak of light behind him was an old man. Frostblade Spirit Practitioner. Seeing the old man behind him, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were shocked. The person chasing after them was actually a Frostblade Spirit Cultivator. But wasn't he trapped in the great formation of the plaza from before? He had actually escaped and appeared here. However, judging from his aura, he should have been severely injured and was far from his peak. He was at most at the 2nd level of the spiritual sea realm. Kid, hand over the treasures and I'll spare your life. Frostblade roared. However, the young man didn't seem to have any intention of paying attention to him. He flew past Lu Ming and the others at an extremely fast speed. The Han Dao spirit warrior chased after them relentlessly. He glanced at Lu Ming and was stunned for a moment. Then, he roared, "Little bastards, it's you. You deserve to die." With a furious roar, Frostblade's spiritual practitioner actually stopped chasing after the young man. Instead, he pounced on Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing with a venomous look in his eyes. From this, it could be seen how much he hated Lu Ming, directly abandoning that young man. Lu Ming's expression turned solemn as the infinite dragon spear appeared in his hand. Sky Demon Force Field. Xian Yanqing stretched out his hand and pressed down. An enormous heavenly demon force field enveloped Frostblade Spirit Master. However, the Frostblade Spirit Master was truly powerful. Although he was injured, his true yuan was still incomparably powerful. His true yuan burst forth, breaking through the heavenly demon force field and charging towards Lu Ming. Destruction cut. Xian Yanqing roared again. The heavenly demon force field burst forth with the power of destruction cut. Streaks of terrifying cutting power seemed to be able to cut through space. Frostblade Spirit Master roared angrily. His entire body was covered in white ice like a suit of ice armor. His figure continued to charge forward. Kill. Lu Ming rushed into the heavenly demon force field with the infinite dragon spear in hand. The spear light pierced towards Frostblade Spirit Master's throat. Lu Ming was not affected in the slightest by the heavenly demon force field. It was as if he was outside. The heavenly demon force field was completely under Xian Yanqing's control. Clang! Frostblade Spirit Master slashed out, blocking Lu Ming's spear. Lu Ming's body trembled as he retreated. Frostblade Spirit Master's realm was too high. Even if he was injured, his battle strength was still terrifying. Little bastards, die. Today, you will die. Frostblade Spirit Master's eyes were filled with murderous intent. 3 days ago, he and old monster Hongqi were trapped in that big formation. They were trapped for half a day and almost died in there. Fortunately, there were other people who had also reached there. With the help of others, they were able to get out of danger. Although they escaped, they were severely injured. Even now, they were still far from recovering. His hatred for Lu Ming and old monster Hongqi was unimaginable. Boom! Boom! The 9 dragons bloodline and the second bloodline erupted at the same time. Lu Ming's battle strength increased greatly. 9th grade king class. Both bloodlines are 9th grade king class. Frostblade Spirit Master cried out in disbelief. He was almost scared to death. When activating one's bloodline, it was inevitable that the rank of one's bloodline would be exposed. It was simply unbelievable that both bloodlines were 9th grade king class. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. After activating his bloodline, his battle strength increased. He charged towards Frostblade Spirit Master again. Frostblade Spirit Master wanted to kill him. How could he not want to kill Frostblade Spirit Master? Otherwise, it would be terrible to be targeted by such a despicable old monster. Who knew if the old monster would do something behind his back? Die. This kid is too terrifying. He must die. Frostblade Spirit Master was even more determined to kill Lu Ming. His blade light flashed as he battled with Lu Ming. However, he was greatly affected by the heavenly demon power field. For a moment, it would not be easy to defeat Lu Ming. I'll smash. Dandan shrank back into its shell and suddenly smashed towards Frostblade Spirit Master's face. However, Sea of Soul Realm martial artists who had comprehended level 2 intent could already control the heaven and earth elements to form battle armor to cover their whole body. Dandan rushed over, but it only smashed into the ice armor covering Frostblade Spirit Master's face. Nest, I haven't recovered enough. Otherwise, it would have smashed through that old man's ice layer. Dandan flew back to Lu Ming's shoulder and muttered, looking for a chance to sneak attack. Xiao. Right at this moment, a golden sword light flew over. It was the golden-robed youth from before. He had actually returned. Before he arrived, a golden sword chi with incomparable sharpness cut through the void and slashed towards Frostblade Spirit Master. Kid, come and die with me. Frostblade Spirit Master roared and waved his blade to block the sword chi. Shwa. The golden-robed youth appeared in the air and glanced around. Finally, his gaze landed on Lu Ming and he said, Shura? Hell King? Lu Ming said. He could tell from the aura that this person was Hell King. And Hell King obviously recognized him as well. How about working together? Let's kill this old man. Hell King said. That's exactly what I want. A smile emerged on Lu Ming's face. Hell King's battle strength was terrifying. With him, they could fight the injured Frostblade Spirit Master. Golden Radiance Radiant Sword. Hell King was very straightforward and directly attacked. The dazzling golden sword chi emitted an incomparable sharpness that seemed to be able to cut through everything. Hell King had comprehended the metal intent, and had already reached level 2. The metal intent was known for its sharpness and sharpness. Xian Yanqing's Sky Demon Force Field naturally didn't hinder Hell King at all. At the same time, Lu Ming also appeared. He stabbed out with his long spear and a tricolor dragon flew out, pouncing towards Frostblade Spirit Master. Facing the attacks of the three people, Frostblade Spirit Warrior slashed out saber lights one after another. Chapter 684. Then, the spear light, sword light, and saber light clashed again. Whoosh! Whoosh! Sword chi and saber chi shot out in all directions. One could see with the naked eye that there were cracks in the space nearby. Frostblade Spirit was injured and suppressed by the Sky Demon force field, while Lu Ming and Hades were able to fight to their heart's content. The battle between the four was extremely intense. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. Rumble. At this moment, the world suddenly shook. The four of them could feel the Rainbow Island shaking violently in the air. The shaking was getting more and more intense. Oh no, the Rainbow Island is going to return to the void. Let's go. A martial artist shouted in the distance. How do we leave? Fly to the sky. The Rainbow Island is covered by the inscription formation. As long as we fly to the sky and break through the inscription formation, we can leave. Hurry. Whoosh. Whoosh. Streaks of rainbow light could be seen emerging from the mountain ranges, flying into the sky at an extremely fast speed. Lu Ming and the others' expressions changed. However, they were all anxious. No one stopped. If any of them stopped, the other party would take advantage of the situation and attack fiercely. They would definitely be at a disadvantage. However, the four of them also flew to the sky consciously. They fought as they flew. When they were tens of thousands of meters in the sky, they could see that there was indeed a light screen above their heads that covered the Rainbow Island. In the distance, beams of rainbow light bombarded the light screen and pierced through it. The figures disappeared. Boom! The four of them fought. When the battle reached the edge of the light screen was naturally pierced through. The four of them rushed out. Lu Ming appeared outside and found himself floating in the air. Not far away, a part of the Rainbow Island had already returned to the void. The remaining part was also returning to the void and would disappear soon. Around the Rainbow Island, figures flashed and appeared. They were the people who came out of the Rainbow Island. Clang! Not far away, a dazzling golden light flashed. The Frostblade Spirit Practitioner was closer to Yama King, so he made the first move. He wanted to kill one of them first before dealing with Lu Ming and Xianyanqing. How could Lu Ming let him have his way? With the 9 Dragons' Heaven Stomp, he turned into a stream of light and appeared behind the Ice Saber Spirit Practitioner in an instant. He aimed his long spear directly at the Ice Saber Spirit Practitioner. Damn it! Yama had long since been on guard against him. His sudden attack hadn't been able to injure Yama. Furthermore, Lu Ming's speed and reaction speed were also terrifying. He had arrived almost immediately, ruining Yama's plan to injure Yama. Boom! In the next moment, a huge pressure pressed down on the Frostblade Spirit Master. Xianyanqing followed closely behind. This made the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Among the three of them, Xianyanqing was the most troublesome to deal with. The Heavenly Demon Power Field Suppression and Destruction Cut's sneak attack made it impossible for him to unleash his full power. As for Lu Ming and Yama King, they were in charge of ferocious attacks. The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner was confident that he could easily crush and kill any one of the three of them. However, the three of them working together was too difficult to deal with. This area was boiling as the battle was incomparably intense. The people nearby were all alarmed. That's the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner. Who are those three? They can actually fight with the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner? Such powerful battle strength. The three of them are all Peak Kings. Unbelievable. Peak Kings can actually fight with the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner? Azura, Yama, and Wuxia. That's right, it's the three of them. Their moves are exactly the same. The three of them are actually fighting the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner together. What's going on? Heavens, it should be the three of them. I think there's some conflict on the seven-colored island. Most of the people in the surroundings were Peak Kings. There were also a few Sea of Soul Realm experts. They were all shocked at this scene. The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner was a powerful existence at the peak of the third level of Sea of Soul Realm. They could see that his aura was weak and should be injured. However, this was still shocking enough. Many people stood in the air, watching from afar. Rumble. The seven-colored island kept sinking into the void and was about to disappear. The commotion on the seven-colored island shook the entire Golden Sand Island. Countless figures flew over and looked at the seven-colored island that was about to disappear in shock. At the same time, they were shocked by the scene of Lu Ming and the others fighting with the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner. Feng Chuan, come and help me kill these three little bastards. The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner called out. He called out to a first-level Sea of Soul Realm expert who was watching nearby. This Feng Chuan was an old acquaintance of the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner, but they weren't very close. At this moment, Feng Chuan's expression changed. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Yama were too powerful. Even if he attacked, he might not be able to kill them in one strike. If he was counterattacked, he might die here. Moreover, they were still so young. Their potential was too shocking. If he didn't kill them all, when they broke through to the Sea of Soul Realm, he wouldn't dare to appear. Therefore, he hesitated and couldn't make up his mind. Feng Chuan, you're still not attacking? Do you want to die? The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner threatened. Feng Chuan's expression turned ugly again. Kill! Xian Yanqing shouted. Her arm pressed down again, and a beautiful arm formed. The arm was huge, and the palm alone was 10 meters wide. It pressed down on the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner. This was Xian Yanqing's bloodline martial technique. Extreme Path Strike. Golden Light Tear. Lu Ming and the King of Hell also unleashed their strongest attacks. They wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. The longer the battle dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner knew many people, but they were outsiders. The three of them all used their strongest attacks. The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner's expression changed drastically, and he exploded with all his power to defend. Bang! The power of the three fell on the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner. The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner's saber light was shattered, and the ice armor covering his body was also shattered. The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner screamed, and his body flew far away, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Kill! Lu Ming and the other two madly pounced on the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner. Frost Saber Storm. The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner's face flashed with an abnormal color. In an instant, he slashed out hundreds of times towards Lu Ming and the other two. Break! The three of them worked together to break the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner's Frost Saber Storm, and charged towards the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner. The Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner's face turned pale. He was actually at a disadvantage. If this continued, he would be in danger. At this moment, a scarlet sword chi crossed the void and slashed towards Lu Ming and the other two. Their expressions changed, and they blocked the sword chi, but their bodies couldn't help but stop. Whoosh! A red-robed old man appeared in front of the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner. It was Old Monster Hongqi. Huh, Old Monster Hongqi, you're here. Good, let's kill these three little bastards together. Seeing Old Monster Hongqi, the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner was ecstatic. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Yama's expressions became serious. The three of them stood side by side, staring at the Frost Saber Spirit Practitioner and old monster Hongqi. Chapter 685. Old freak Hongqi was the same as the Cold Blade Spirit Warrior. He was also injured in the formation, but no one knew how serious his injuries were. If he retained the same fighting strength as the Cold Blade Spirit Warrior, or even stronger than the latter, they would be in trouble. Today, it was impossible for them to kill Frost Blade Spirit Master. Frost Blade Spirit Master and old freak Hongqi charged toward Lu Ming and the other two. Around them, everyone was watching attentively. They were extremely curious in their hearts. Would the three rising geniuses die in the hands of the two old monsters? Buzz! Just then, a golden pagoda appeared on Hell King's body. The golden pagoda emitted a dazzling golden light that was even more dazzling than the sun. Those rays of golden light were like rays of incomparably sharp sword chi. Golden Light Sword Pagoda. Frost Blade Spirit Master and old freak Hongqi exclaimed when they saw the golden pagoda. It's the Golden Light Sword Pagoda. The others around them also exclaimed in shock. Are you from the Golden Sword sect? Old freak Hongqi asked with a grave expression. In the west of the chaotic astral ocean, there was a large region near the exposed star sea called the Golden Light region. The Golden Light region was very famous in the eastern wilderness. It was not a small region, but a large one with terrifying strength. The top sect in the Golden Light region was the Golden Sword sect. Although the Golden Light region was under the control of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace, and the Golden Sword sect was also a subordinate force of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace, the Golden Sword sect had a lot of say in the Golden Light region. It was almost as powerful as the branch of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace in the Golden Light region. The Golden Light Sword Pagoda could only be owned by the true geniuses of the Golden Sword sect. It was very famous and close to the exposed star sea. I'm Kenfei Ryu. King of Hell slowly announced his name. What? You're Kenfei Ryu, the top genius of the Golden Sword sect. Kenfei Ryu, ranked 788th on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Wilderness. Hearing Hell King's words, old freak Hongqi and Frost Blade Spirit Master's expressions changed drastically. Cries of surprise could be heard from all around. The King of Hell was Kenfei Ryu, ranked 788th on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Wilderness. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing's eyes also flickered. They had naturally heard of Kenfei Ryu. His name was recorded on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Wilderness. Ranked 788, he was indeed much stronger than Li Xiaoyun. Old Ghost Han Dao, let's just forget about what happened today. Old man Hongqi's expression changed as he said to Ice Saber Spirit Master. He wasn't afraid of Kenfei Ryu, but of the Golden Sword sect behind Kenfei Ryu. What are you afraid of? Let's kill them today and find a small island to hide on. Do you think the Golden Sword sect will be able to find us? Han Dao's eyes were filled with viciousness as he said, moreover, these brats all have valuable treasures on them. If we get them, we'll split them equally. Old Red, don't be such a coward. Ice Saber Spirit Master's eyes were cold. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing had entered the hall. They had gone in to check, but it was empty. Even the flood dragon was gone. He guessed that Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing must have gotten the treasures inside. Moreover, his hatred for Lu Ming was too strong. He wouldn't be satisfied if he didn't kill Lu Ming. Kenfei Ryu, on the other hand, had gotten the treasures in the other hall. Therefore, he didn't want to let the three of them go so easily. Old man Hongqi's expression also changed. He was also tempted by the treasure that Ice Saber Spirit Master valued. Old Ice Saber, let's see if you can kill us. Do you think I don't have any life-saving treasures on me? Let's put it another way. If I control the Golden Sword Pagoda with all my might, do you think you can stop it? I'm confident that I can kill one of you. Which one of you wants to die? Kenfei Ryu sneered, looking at Ice Saber Spirit Master and Old Man Hongqi. Ice Saber Spirit Master and Old Man Hongqi's expression turned ugly. They knew that Kenfei Ryu was right. How could a genius like Kenfei Ryu not have any life-saving treasures on him? Moreover, the Golden Sword Pagoda was a famous treasure. With Kenfei Ryu's cultivation, it would be difficult for him to control it. However, if he was forced to use it, one of them might be killed. Brother Jian, why bother talking nonsense with them? I also have something on me. If I use it, I can kill one of them. Lu Ming said coldly. Ice Saber Spirit Master and Old Man Hongqi's expression changed again. They couldn't help but step back. They had no choice but to believe that Lu Ming was telling the truth. Lu Ming was so young, but his combat ability was strong. He was not inferior to Jian Filiu at all. He was definitely born in a powerful force. It was highly possible that he had a treasure with him to protect himself. Moreover, there was also Xian Yanqing. They began to hesitate. This was the advantage of being a big force. It was not something that independent cultivators like them could compare with. Lu Ming looked coldly at Ice Saber Spirit Master and Old Man Hongqi. What he said just now was half true and half false. He did have a killing move, which was the Thunder Cauldron. However, if he used it, he would be at the mercy of others. Under such circumstances, Lu Ming did not plan to use the Thunder Cauldron. He said it just to scare Ice Saber Spirit Master and Old Man Hongqi. In my opinion, let's forget about today's matter. After pondering for a while, Old Man Hongqi spoke. Obviously, he did not dare to gamble with his life. Ice Saber Spirit Master's face turned ugly. He was very unwilling. However, if Old Man Hongqi withdrew, he could not do anything to Lu Ming and the others. He might even be killed by them. Little bastards, wait until I recover from my injuries. See how I kill you. Ice Saber Spirit Master roared in his heart. If he was in his prime, he was absolutely confident that he could kill Lu Ming and Kenfei Ryu before they used their secret treasures. Let's go. Ice Saber Spirit Master glanced at Lu Ming and the others. Then, he and Old Man Hongqi turned into two streaks of light and flew into the distance. Rumble. At this time, the Rainbow Island had completely disappeared in the void. The void returned to its calm state. I still don't know how to address the two of you. I really admire your cultivation and combat strength. Kenfei Ryu put away the Golden Sword Pagoda and cupped his fists to Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. I'm Lu Ming. Lu Ming cupped his fists and smiled. Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing said coldly. Lu Ming. Xian Yanqing. Kenfei Ryu pondered for a while. Obviously, he had not heard of these two names. Then, he smiled bitterly and said, I've long heard that this generation is in the golden age. There are many geniuses and talents rising. It seems that it's true. Along the way, I've met no less than 5 geniuses who are not inferior to the list of top 1,000 talents. No wonder Tianji Chamber of Commerce hasn't released a new list when it's time to update the list of top 1,000 talents. Perhaps there are too many rising geniuses for Tianji Chamber of Commerce to control them all. Lu Ming nodded. He was also curious. The list of top 1,000 talents would be updated every 2 years. According to the time, 2 years should have passed, but the new list of top 1,000 talents had not been updated. Obviously, it had something to do with the current era. With the arrival of the new era, talents would rise. Although Tianji Chamber of Commerce was powerful, it was difficult to control them all. Chapter 686. Kenfei Ryu showed off his ability in battle, but he was still very easygoing. Moreover, when he was on Rainbow Island, he could have taken the opportunity to escape, but he turned back to help Lu Ming and the others deal with the Frost Blade Spirit Master. His character was not bad, and Lu Ming had a good impression of him. Xian Yinqing stood to the side and did not speak. Lu Ming and Kenfei Ryu chatted for a while, and then Kenfei Ryu said goodbye. "Brother Lu, Miss Xie, it's not good to stay on Golden Sand Island for long. If the Frost Blade Spirit Master recovers, he will definitely not let you go. I plan to leave Golden Sand Island. What about you?" Kenfei Ryu said. "Yes, us too." Lu Ming nodded. "Good, we'll meet again if fate wills it." Kenfei Ryu cupped his fists and disappeared. "Let's go." Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing looked at each other and also left. The news of this battle was bound to spread, and it would spread further and further. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing did plan to leave Golden Sand Island. During this period, Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing had gained a lot, and they needed to find a quiet place to digest it. Xian Yinqing's destruction concept and wind concept were about to merge successfully. She needed to find a place to go into seclusion and break through in one go. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had not properly studied the suppressing prison heaven skill he had obtained from the suppressing prison steel. Also, the seven-colored spiritual master's spirit fire was constantly being refined. He also needed to go into seclusion for a while to digest it. The two flew to the west of Golden Sand Island. Soon, they crossed the entire island and arrived at the western coast. Lu Ming's hand moved, and a map appeared in his hand. This was the map of the chaotic astral ocean he had bought in Jinsha Island. There was a sea on it, and there were countless stars in the sea. Those were all islands. Jinsha Island was relatively close to the east. After watching for a while, Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing soared into the sky and flew towards the west. They planned to find an uninhabited island and go into seclusion for a period of time. After Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing left, Kenfei Ryu appeared on another beach. With a wave of his hand, a metal box appeared in his hand. Inscriptions flowed on the surface of the metal box, sealing it. "This is something I obtained from the palace on the seven-colored island. It has the words Martial Monarch's Treasure Key on it. Martial Monarch's Treasure, I wonder if it's real?" Jian Filiu said in a low voice as a blazing light flashed in his eyes. The words Martial Emperor's Treasure were too attractive. It doesn't matter if it's real or fake. Since it was collected by the seven-colored Taoist, it must be extraordinary. Unfortunately, there is an inscription formation seal on it. It looks like I'll have to spend some time to open this seal. After saying that, Kenfei Ryu put away the metal box and flew towards the sea, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing were extremely fast. After flying for 2 days, they finally found a deserted island. The deserted island was not big, with a radius of less than 100 miles. No one lived on it. The two landed on the deserted island and sorted out the things they had obtained from the seven-colored island. This time, they had obtained a lot of things. There were supreme-grade spiritual crystals, cultivation techniques, martial skills, and even ultimacy crystals. Especially spiritual herbs, which were the most abundant. The two of them split the loot equally. Then, they each found a place and began their seclusion. Dandan, take advantage of this period of time to inscribe level 4 and above inscriptions. Also, give me some inscription formations. I'll study them when I have time. In Dandan's mind, there were countless inscriptions and inscription formations. Naturally, he had to make good use of them. Exchange them with spiritual herbs. Dandan took the opportunity to ask for spiritual herbs. Take them. Lu Ming took out a level 5 spiritual herb and threw it to Dandan. On the seven-colored island, Lu Ming had obtained a lot of spiritual herbs and was very rich. Dandan took the elixir and ran off to inscribe the inscriptions on it. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and sank his consciousness into his sea of consciousness. In his sea of consciousness, 10 green spirit lamps burned fiercely. That's right. In the past few days, Lu Ming had ignited 10 green spirit lamps and reached the perfect stage of a level 4 inscription master. Next, he would be breaking through to the level 5 inscription master. The level 5 inscription master was a hurdle. Once crossed, there would be a qualitative change. A true inscription master would have terrifying combat strength. Lu Ming used the underworld god observation method, and the flowing geocentric flame in his sea of consciousness burned fiercely, constantly refining the 7-colored Taoist spirit flames. The 7-colored Taoist spirit flames had already shrunk, but there was still a lot left. In the future, Lu Ming's spirit flames would still advance by leaps and bounds. Hoo! Strands of spirit flames floated down and merged with Lu Ming's own spirit flames. His spirit flames continued to grow. 3 hours later, the 10 green spirit lamps suddenly extinguished. Then, a wisp of green flame slowly appeared on the first spirit lamp. Green spirit flames, a level 5 inscription master. Boom! The moment the green flame appeared, Lu Ming's mind shook and a loud rumbling sound rang out. Wang! At this moment, 5 rings of light suddenly appeared above Lu Ming's head. 5 rings of light with 5 different colors. At the bottom was a crimson ring of light. On the ring of light, there were 10 points that were evenly distributed. They emitted resplendent light like stars. From bottom to top, the second halo was orange and also had 10 points. It was incomparably resplendent. The third halo was yellow and also had 10 points. The fourth halo was green and also had 10 points. Only the fifth ring was different. It was green, but there was only 1 dot on it. Spirit ring. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. As long as an inscription master reached level 5, a spirit ring would appear. Each color of the spirit ring represented a corresponding level. For example, the ring at the bottom represented a level 1 inscription master. The 10 dots on it represented the number of spirit lamps that had been lit. Lu Ming's first 4 levels all had 10 spirit lamps lit, so there were 10 dots. If a level only had 5 spirit lamps lit, then there would only be 5 dots. The spirit ring could clearly display an inscription master's cultivation situation. With a thought, Lin Yun put away the spirit ring. Then, Lu Ming's consciousness sank into the green spirit flames. Boom! In an instant, Lu Ming's spirit flames extended out and flew out of his body, floating between heaven and earth. At this moment, the entire world in his eyes was filled with a myriad of colors. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Lu Ming could clearly sense the various colors, attributes, and energies of heaven and earth. What a wonderful feeling! Lu Ming was extremely curious. His spirit flames continued to extend out, but the further it went, the weaker the energy Lu Ming felt. Let's test the power of the inscription array. Returning to his senses, Lu Ming stood up. Stomp! Stomp! He took several steps on the ground and inscriptions appeared on the ground. These inscriptions intersected and formed an inscription array. Bang! As Lu Ming took the last step, a battle sword flew out from the array and slashed at a mound. Bang! The mound was directly split into 2. As expected, an inscription array can carry the power of heaven and earth and unleash a powerful attack. Is this the power of a level 5 inscription master? It's indeed wonderful. Chapter 687. Right now, he had just stepped into the 5th level and had only ignited 1 spirit lamp. Later on, when he ignited more spirit lamps and mastered more powerful inscription formations, his attack power would be even stronger. The formation that Lu Ming had just inscribed was only a 3rd level formation, so its attack power was limited. An inscription master's combat power was related to the strength of their spirit flames, but it also had a lot to do with the inscription formations they mastered. The stronger the spirit flames, the more power of heaven and earth they could control. The stronger the inscription formation, the more terrifying its power would be. The seven-colored spiritual master's spirit flames have some experience, and even the art of alchemy and formations. However, it's too messy now. I'll sort it out after refining all of his spirit flames. Now, all I have to do is wait for Dandan to inscribe inscriptions and formations. Before that, I'll put aside the art of inscription for now. Anyway, the flowing geocentric flame was constantly refining the seven-colored spiritual master's spirit flames. His spirit flames were constantly growing stronger, so he could ignore it for now. Suppressing steel. Lu Ming planned to study the suppressing steel and suppressing hell-heaven skill for his second bloodline. With a thought, the suppressing steel appeared. Suppressing steel, what is it suppressing? The 9 serenities hell? Lu Ming smiled faintly. The clouds in front of the suppressing steel had already dispersed, but the rest of the steel was still shrouded in clouds and looked very mysterious. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly realized that he could feel an extremely heavy intent lingering in his heart. It was incomparably clear. This is the earth? Yes, this is the power of the earth. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He stepped on the earth, and slowly, he seemed to have become one with the earth. The power of the earth, yes, this is the power of the earth. This suppressing steel is really amazing. It can actually let me feel the power of the earth so clearly. Lu Ming knew very well that this was all because of the suppressing steel. In the past, when he stepped on the earth, he didn't have this feeling, but now, he did. It seemed that the suppressing steel was very compatible with the earth. Lu Ming had a feeling that if he wanted to comprehend the power of the earth now, he could quickly comprehend it and master it. Should I comprehend it? Lu Ming hesitated. Once he comprehended the force of the earth, the number of forces he could control, and even the concepts of heaven and earth, would increase to 4. His cultivation speed would definitely slow down. And the more concepts one comprehended, the greater the repulsive force would be, and the more difficult it would be to cultivate. Lu Ming had to consider it. Let's take a look at the suppressing hell-heaven skill first, then think about it. Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. In his mind, information regarding the hell-suppressing heaven art appeared. During this period of time, he hadn't had the chance to properly study the hell-suppressing heaven skill. Immediately, all the information related to the suppressing hell-heaven skill echoed in Lu Ming's mind. After more than an hour, Lu Ming opened his eyes. What a wonderful martial skill! Lu Ming's eyes revealed a trace of amazement. There was no doubt that the hell-suppressing heaven art was a bloodline martial skill, but it was very different from other bloodline martial skills. First of all, the hell-suppressing heaven art didn't have any fixed moves. It was more like a combat skill. After successfully cultivating it, one could borrow the power of the bloodline. Every punch, palm, or even kick would contain the power of the hell-suppressing steel, and its power would be extremely terrifying. Even if one cultivated it to the highest level, it wouldn't be limited to the hands and feet. Every part of the body could be used to fight. The back, shoulders, and so on could contain the power of the hell-suppressing steel and unleash terrifying attacks, turning them into killing weapons. Also, the hell-suppressing heaven art didn't have a specific grade. It had a lot to do with the power of the bloodline. The stronger the power of the bloodline, the stronger the power of the hell-suppressing steel. If one awakened a 9th grade king-class bloodline, then the power of the hell-suppressing heaven art could barely reach the first level of a demigod-class martial skill. If one awakened a 1st grade god-class bloodline, then the power of the hell-suppressing heaven art could even reach the 6th level of a demigod-class martial skill. Demigod class. Lu Ming's eyes emitted a bright light. Other people could only awaken a fixed bloodline grade, but Lu Ming could continuously upgrade it. This martial skill was simply too suitable for Lu Ming. However, there was a requirement for the hell-suppressing heaven art, and that was to use the earth concept as the core in order to display its strongest power. This was because the earth concept was the most compatible with the hell-suppressing steel. It seems like I still need to comprehend the earth concept. Lu Ming's mouth curved into a bitter smile. However, Lu Ming quickly made a decision. Comprehend it. Comprehending the power of the earth and the concept of the earth would greatly increase his battle prowess. Moreover, if he could integrate the concept of the earth into the 3 ultimate skills of the dragon god in the future, the 3 ultimate skills of the dragon god would transform into a low-grade demigod martial skill. It could be said to be killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Lu Ming carefully went through the contents of the hell-suppressing heaven art in his mind. Then, the hell-suppressing steel's bloodline appeared. Lu Ming planned to start comprehending the earth concept. When the earth concept had reached a certain level, he would combine it with the earth concept and cultivate the hell-suppressing heaven art together. Taking out the Enlightenment ancient tree and placing it beside him, Lu Ming's mind became incomparably clear. He seemed to have become one with the earth under his feet. He seemed to see this small island extending all the way down to the bottom of the sea, merging with the endless earth. A heavy, grand, vast, and vicissitude feeling rippled in Lu Ming's heart. After an unknown period of time, Lu Ming's body also emitted a heavy, grand, vast, and vicissitude feeling. Earth concept, elementary level. At this moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes. He suddenly stood up and struck out with his palm. Boom! This palm seemed to be incomparably heavy, as if it could crush space. After an explosion, Lu Ming stopped. He frowned and muttered, "No, again." At this moment, he was cultivating the hell-suppressing heaven art. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming alternated between using his palm, fist, and finger, constantly striking the air. In this way, Lu Ming cultivated continuously for 3 days. 3 days later, every time he struck out with his palm, it was as if there was a huge mountain in his palm, causing the air to rumble and explode. After cultivating for another 10 minutes, Lu Ming let out a long breath. After 3 days of cultivation, the hell-suppressing heaven art could be considered as elementary level. However, Lu Ming could only use it with his hands now. If he wanted to use it with his feet, there was still a long way to go. As for being able to use it with his whole body, the distance was even greater. In these few days, Lu Ming did not continue to comprehend the earth concept. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that the earth force's maturity was still low to merge it with the other 3 intents. Otherwise, when the earth force's maturity was high, it would be even more difficult to merge them. The more mature it was, the stronger the repulsive force. Let's go and see how Xiaoqing's cultivation is going. Lu Ming walked to the other side of the island. Xianyanqing was cultivating on the other side of the island. Chapter 688. Little Qing, did you encounter a problem in your cultivation? Lu Ming walked over and stood side by side with Xianyanqing. The sea breeze blew, blowing Xianyanqing's skirt and black hair. At this moment, Xianyanqing was like a goddess descending to the mortal world. I don't know why. The destruction intent realm and wind intent realm are always a little lacking and difficult to merge. Xianyanqing said. Could it be that the destruction intent realm is too strong, so the repulsive force is stronger? Lu Ming guessed. That's right. Xianyanqing nodded. Sure enough, it was the same as Lu Ming's guess. The destruction intent realm was an extremely powerful and terrifying intent realm that could destroy everything. It was even stronger than the star intent realm of the sacred stars. As for the wind intent realm, it was one of the 9 common intents. Compared to the destruction intent realm, there was still a gap. Therefore, it was even more difficult to merge them. It was like a poor person wanting to be friends with a rich person. It was very difficult. However, it was much easier for two poor people or two rich people to be friends. The destruction intent realm was equivalent to the rich person, and the wind intent realm was equivalent to the poor person. To put it more accurately, the destruction intent realm disdained to merge with the wind intent realm. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and then said, "Little Qing, try comprehending it with this." With a wave of his hand, the Enlightenment Ancient Tree appeared on the ground. Xian Yinqing was stunned at first. Then, she sensed it and her expression changed drastically. As she sensed it carefully, her expression became more and more interesting. Is this the legendary Enlightenment Ancient Tree? Xian Yinqing looked at Lu Ming. Her voice was trembling, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. Yes, I was lucky to get a withered branch of the Enlightenment Ancient Tree. I didn't expect it to really sprout. Lu Ming smiled slightly. You showed me such a valuable thing. Aren't you afraid that I'll have evil thoughts and take it away? Xian Yinqing blinked her big eyes and looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Do you know how to do it? Puchi. Xian Yinqing laughed out loud. At this moment, her smile was incomparably brilliant and incomparably happy. Her beautiful eyes blinked as she stared at Lu Ming, as if she wanted to engrave him in her heart. How is it? Are you very touched? Don't tell me you want to give yourself to me. I'm not ready yet. Lu Ming said with a smile. Promise my ass. Humph, lend me this Enlightenment Ancient Tree for 2 days. Xian Yinqing curled her lips. Then, her eyes flashed and she said, Since you're so sincere, I'll reward you. After saying that, Xian Yinqing suddenly stood on her tiptoes and kissed Lu Ming's face. Then, with a red face, she hugged the Enlightenment Ancient Tree pill furnace and ran off to cultivate. Hee. Lu Ming touched the place where Xian Yinqing had kissed him and giggled. Boy, why are you here? I've been looking for you for a long time. Dandan's voice sounded. It ran wildly in the air with its short legs and flew towards Lu Ming. Have you finished carving inscriptions and inscription formations? Lu Ming looked at Dandan. I'm done. I'm exhausted. But let me tell you, my cultivation is limited now. I can only carve level 5 inscriptions and some level 5 inscription formations. I can't carve more inscriptions than that. You need to wait for me to recover a little more. Dandan spat out more than a dozen jade plates from its mouth and handed them to Lu Ming. Only level 5 inscriptions? Lu Ming whispered. Boy, let me tell you, don't underestimate my inscriptions and inscription formations. Who am I? I have mastered a lot of inscriptions and inscription formations that you don't have here. They are very rare and powerful. Many of them are not worse than level 6 formations. With your mental strength, the power they exert is definitely not weaker than ordinary level 6 formations. Dandan explained proudly. Oh. Since you've worked so hard, these spiritual herbs are your reward. Lu Ming took out some level 5 spiritual herbs and threw them to Dandan. Dandan gritted its teeth. With its status, it didn't need others to reward it. It was always the one who rewarded others. Now, Lu Ming, a young boy, actually took out a few level 5 spiritual herbs and said they were for it. This made Dandan's turtle shell rise and fall. What? Don't want it? Forget it. Lu Ming said. Yes, of course. Dandan hurriedly put away the elixir and warned herself in her heart that she had no choice but to lower her head when she was under the eaves. Then, it ran away happily. Lu Ming took out the jade token that Dandan gave him and looked at it. Some were level 4 and level 5 inscriptions, and some were all kinds of inscription formations. After Lu Ming looked at it, he began to comprehend it. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Xian Yinqing returned the Enlightenment Ancient Tree to Lu Ming. How is it? Did you gain anything? Lu Ming asked. I gained something. Come, let's fight. I need a strong pressure. Xian Yanqing said. That's exactly what I want. I want to fight with you. Lu Ming smiled, and the momentum of the earth spread out from his body. He also wanted to fight with Xian Yanqing and integrate the momentum of the earth with the other three intents. Xian Yanqing's beautiful eyes suddenly widened and exclaimed, Momentum of the earth, you actually comprehended the momentum of the earth? Yes, I can't help it. Lu Ming sighed softly. What a monster. Xian Yanqing muttered. Lu Ming was speechless. Boom. Boom. After a while, there was a deafening roar on the island. Above the island, two figures were constantly bombarding each other, and the sky was constantly shaking. After a few hundred moves, the two stopped and comprehended their intents. Just like that, half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Every day, the two would spend some time fighting to promote the integration of intents. During the rest of the time, Lu Ming would cultivate the hell-suppressing heaven skill, comprehend and cultivate various inscriptions, and fight with inscriptions. Lu Ming's gains were huge, and he was improving every day. He could easily inscribe the inscriptions and inscription formations that Dandan gave him. As for the hell-suppressing heaven skill, Lu Ming had cultivated it to his feet. Lu Ming's every punch, every palm, and every kick seemed to contain a prison-suppressing monument, suppressing everything. However, using the hell-suppressing heaven skill consumed too much Zhen Yuan. Lu Ming's Zhen Yuan was much more vigorous than other martial artists in the same realm, but it still consumed a lot of Zhen Yuan, and he couldn't support too many moves. He wouldn't be able to use more than half of his Zhen Yuan after a few moves. It should be known that even Sea of Soul realm experts didn't have many low-grade demigod martial skills. Many low-grade Sea of Soul realm experts cultivated high-grade heaven-grade martial skills. Some rogue cultivators, who were a bit shabby, still cultivated low-grade heaven-grade martial skills. Generally, only high-grade Sea of Soul realm experts could bring out the full power of low-grade demigod martial skills. Hell-suppressing heaven skill can be my trump card. I should use it as little as possible. Lu Ming pondered. As for the integration of Aura of Earth with the other three intents, his progress was also very fast, and he was just a little bit away. After all, Lu Ming had the previous two experiences, and the current Aura of Earth was still very weak, so the integration was a bit faster. As for Xian Yanqing, after such a long time of cultivation, he finally succeeded in integrating Destruction Intent and Wind Intent in one go. This caused Xian Yanqing's battle strength to increase crazily. The might of the integration of Destruction Intent and Wind Intent shocked even Lu Ming. Chapter 689. Lu Ming, the last key to the Martial Emperor's treasure has finally appeared. Xian Yanqing flew over, holding a small jade sword in his hand. Lu Ming's hand moved, and a jade sword appeared. At this moment, the 9 lines on the sword hilt all lit up, flashing with a dazzling light. Lu Ming was also somewhat excited. The 9 keys had finally appeared, which meant that the Martial Emperor's treasure was about to be opened. Let's inject our true qi and see if there are any changes. Lu Ming said. Xian Yanqing nodded, and together with Lu Ming, injected their true qi into the jade sword. The jade sword trembled slightly, and then a map appeared in the air. There are changes. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The map began to change, and slowly, the dot became bigger. Lu Ming and the others realized that the map of the chaotic astral ocean was getting bigger and bigger in front of their eyes. On the map, there was still a dot pointing to a place. As the map changed, the other areas on the side disappeared, leaving only the chaotic astral ocean on the map. That dot pointed to a sea area in the north of the chaotic astral ocean. Their eyes lit up. Obviously, that was the location of the Martial Emperor's treasure. Everyone, can you hear me? At this moment, a voice suddenly came from the two jade swords. This voice was rough, like the voice of a middle-aged man. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing were shocked. How could there be a voice? Could it be the spirit of the jade swords, or the voice that was sealed inside the jade swords when they were refined? But at this moment, another voice came out. Who are you? The voice seemed to be a young man. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing looked at each other. It didn't seem to be what they thought. Everyone, you should have all obtained the keys to the martial emperor's treasure. I am one of you. The rough voice began to speak again. What a mysterious formation. It can actually transmit messages to each other. It seems like the 9 keys already have an owner. At that moment, an aged voice was heard. It seemed to be a very old O. That's right. The 9 jade swords can communicate with each other. Where are you now? Now that we know where the treasure trove is, it's time for us to open it. The rough voice said again. I arrived at the chaotic astral ocean a long time ago. Old O's voice sounded. I'm also in the chaotic astral ocean. The young voice sounded. I'm also in the chaotic astral ocean. At this moment, another voice rang out. It was a new voice, and it sounded very young. Upon hearing this figure, Xian Yinqing and Lu Ming's expressions changed slightly because they were quite familiar with this voice. Kenfei Ryu. That's right. It was Kenfei Ryu's voice. Lu Ming's eyes flashed as he channeled his true yuan into the sword. King of Hell? The voice from the jade sword went silent. After a while, a voice could be heard, Shura? It sounded very surprised. That's right. Lu Ming said. This time, they were sure that the other party was really Kenfei Ryu. They didn't call each other's real names. The martial emperor's treasure was of great importance. Now, they couldn't leak the information. It seems that some of you know each other. What a coincidence. Is there anyone else here? I'm also in the chaotic astral ocean. Where are the others? The rough voice rang out. Then, there was silence. After a while, another voice rang out. I'm in the chaotic astral ocean. Me too. 2 new voices rang out in succession. In this way, there were a total of 7 voices. Xian Yinqing didn't speak. Except for Xian Yinqing, there was only one person left. Everyone, I'm on my way to the chaotic astral ocean. It will take me half a month. Why don't you wait for me at the treasure trove? At this moment, a clear voice rang out. It was a woman's voice. It sounded very young and somewhat timid. Half a month? Okay, we'll wait for you there first. The rough voice rang out. Wait a minute, let's discuss this first. The martial emperor's treasure is of great importance. Whether it's true or not, we can't leak it out. You didn't leak it out, did you? Old O's voice rang out. No, how could I tell others about the martial emperor's treasure? Only me. The others spoke one after another. That's good. We'll meet at the treasure trove. Old O's voice rang out. Then, there was no other voice. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing retracted their true essences. The map disappeared. Lu Ming, what do you think? Xian Yinqing asked. We can't believe all of these people's words. Who knows if they brought others with them? We can go to the treasure trove first, but we can't show ourselves. Lu Ming said. Xian Yinqing nodded and said, I think so too. It was about the martial emperor's treasure. Although they didn't know whether it was true or not, it was still no small matter. It was better to be as careful as possible. Let's go. It's a long journey from here to the destination. Xian Yinqing said. Lu Ming nodded and called Dandan. The two of them rose into the air and flew in the direction marked on the map. After flying for half a month, they were finally close to the sea. The two of them followed the map and flew in the air, looking down. It should be that small island. Lu Ming pointed at a small island in front of them. That small island was the location marked on the map. There were 9 huge stone pillars on the small island. They looked like mountain peaks, but there was not a single blade of grass growing on them. Furthermore, the appearance of the 9 stone pillars resembled 9 swords. They were all pointing straight up. Lu Ming, look, there's someone there. Xian Yanqing whispered. Lu Ming looked over. Indeed, there was a figure sitting cross-legged on one of the sword-shaped stone pillars. From afar, it looked like a middle-aged man. There's only one person. Let's find an island nearby to settle down and act according to the situation. Lu Ming said in a low voice. Xian Yanqing nodded. They had to be careful. Other than Kenfei Ryu, they didn't know the other owners of the martial emperor's treasure. They didn't know the other party's cultivation or background. If an almighty at the high level of the spirit sea realm or a strong practitioner at the spirit embryo realm came, wouldn't they be courting death if they appeared rashly and wanted to kill them? The two of them retreated and landed on a small island 10,000 miles away. They planned to cultivate while waiting for an opportunity. During the half a month on the road, they didn't fall behind too much in their cultivation. In their minds, they were constantly comprehending various martial techniques. Lu Ming, in particular, was more familiar with the use of various inscriptions and inscription formations. Moreover, the 7-colored spiritual master's spiritual fire was almost completely refined. Lu Ming had already ignited 10 green spiritual lamps. Chapter 690. However, Lu Ming was already very satisfied. Even Lu Ming himself didn't know how powerful the perfect 5th-level spirit fire and the inscription formations given to him by Dandan could be. But it was definitely stronger than his martial arts combat strength. The 7-colored Daoist's experience and knowledge of the path of inscription were integrated into Lu Ming's spirit along with the spirit fire. These were precious treasures, the 7-colored Daoist's 1,000 years of experience in the path of inscription. However, Lu Ming still needed to spend some time to fully master it if he wanted to use it for his own use. The two of them landed on the island, cultivating as they waited. 2 days later, Lu Ming secretly went to the small island to take a look and found that there was one more person. A young man was sitting cross-legged on another stone pillar. Lu Ming didn't show up and returned to the small island. At this time, there was movement in the jade sword again. Lu Ming took it out and injected his true essence into it. A voice sounded. Everyone, I have arrived at my destination. Brother Lu is with me. When will you arrive? A rough voice sounded. It should be the burly man. I'm on my way. In a few days. Old O's voice sounded. Me too. Lu Ming also answered in the same way. The other voices also answered in the same way. Everyone, I have arrived at the chaotic astral ocean, but it will take me another 10 days to reach my destination. I'm really sorry. The timid voice sounded. It doesn't matter if you wait a few more days, but let's set a rule. Those who come to meet us better show their jade sword. Both sides can prove their identity to avoid misunderstandings. The rough voice said. Okay, I have no objection. That's great. Voices sounded one after another. Xian Yanqing didn't say anything. One was that Xian Yanqing didn't like to talk, and the other was that they deliberately didn't expose a jade sword. It might be useful at a critical moment. Then, Lu Ming put away the jade sword and continued to cultivate. He integrated the 7-colored Daoist's experience very quickly. His understanding and application of the path of inscription were advancing by leaps and bounds. Of course, inscribers all leaned in different directions. Some leaned towards artifact forging, some leaned towards alchemy, some leaned towards talisman crafting, and some leaned towards array formations. The seven-colored Taoist leaned towards alchemy, followed by formations. Lu Ming's knowledge and experience in alchemy increased rapidly. Of course, his array formations also improved very quickly. On the small island, Lu Ming took a series of steps on the ground. Without a sound, the ground was covered with inscriptions. At the same time, he waved his hands continuously. In the void, inscriptions flashed and flew into the surrounding trees and big rocks. After a while, he stopped. "Brat, your luck is really enviable. 5th level perfection, the experience of the seven-colored Taoist, and an abnormal inscription talent. Now, you are completely a qualified true inscription refinement grandmaster." On the side, Dandan sighed. It wasn't easy to get Dandan's praise. After all, Lu Ming had only been in contact with the path of inscription for a short time. His foundation was insufficient. Although the cultivation of the spiritual fire was very fast, the other things couldn't be made up for. He needed a lot of time to accumulate them. But now, Lu Ming had integrated the experience of the seven-colored Taoist and skipped this step. Experience, spiritual fire, and all other aspects could be considered to be on par. Of course, this was an opportunity that couldn't be replicated. The seven-colored Taoist had rushed into Lu Ming's sea of consciousness and wanted to occupy Lu Ming's body. Other inscribers wouldn't do this and rush into someone else's sea of consciousness. Lu Ming just happened to have the flowing earth flame and the underworld god visualization. With some achievements in the path of inscription, Lu Ming put more effort into the cultivation of martial arts. In the blink of an eye, another 10 days passed. During these days, every 2 days, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing would go to the small island to secretly observe. There were more and more people on the small island. There were already 5 people there. Even the timid woman had arrived. "Almost everyone is here. Let's go and meet up with them," Lu Ming said. Those 5 people had been living peacefully for the past few days, so there shouldn't be any problems. "Okay." Xian Yanqing nodded. The 2 of them headed towards the island together. Soon, they were close to the island. The 2 of them didn't hide their whereabouts. When they arrived, the 5 people on the island naturally noticed them. "Who are you?" One of the burly men spoke with a rough voice. Lu Ming moved his hand and a sparkling jade sword appeared. The eyes of the other 5 lit up, and a jade sword appeared in each of their hands. "Sir, I've said before that you're not allowed to tell others. Why did you bring someone here?" The burly man's face turned cold. The others' faces also turned cold as they looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. "She's my wife." "Why? I can't even bring my wife?" Lu Ming pulled Xian Yanqing's hand and smiled. Xian Yanqing's face turned red as she gritted her teeth. This guy took advantage of her again. However, under such circumstances, she naturally couldn't deny it and let Lu Ming hold her hand. "Wife?" The burly man's eyes flickered. "Since it's your wife, I think it should be fine." A timid voice sounded. The owner of this voice was a young woman. She was very beautiful and looked weak, but from her aura, she was a peak king. "Okay, since that's the case, brother, please come to the island," the burly man said. Lu Ming nodded and pulled Xian Yanqing onto the island. Step by step, they walked toward a stone pillar at the center of the island. No one noticed that every time Lu Ming took a step, there would be a faint flash of light at the spot where his feet touched the ground. Soon, they were about to reach the stone pillar. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The figures of the 5 people on the stone pillar suddenly flashed and split into 5 directions, surrounding Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's expressions changed slightly. Everyone, What is the meaning of this? Lu Ming looked around. It's very simple. Hand over your jade sword. The burly man sneered. So you want my jade sword? However, even if I give it to you, it won't be enough for you to share. Lu Ming said. Huh, kid, you don't have to divide us. We're all from the same faction. Why should we divide? Old O sneered. However, Lu Ming's heart sank. This was because this Old O's voice was clearly different from the one he had heard in the jade sword. Did you notice? During this period of time, they all came and died. The delicate woman said. However, at this time, she didn't feel timid at all. Her voice was very cold. A trap. Everything was a trap. Lu Ming's mind was spinning rapidly. The others are all dead? Lu Ming's eyes flashed and said coldly. That's right, kid. Let me tell you. We already had 2 jade swords, so senior brother Zhong Imo and I put on a show. Actually, I've arrived a long time ago, but I said I didn't. I just wanted to lower your guard. The delicate woman sneered and seemed to be very proud. The senior brother Zhong Imo she was talking about was the burly man, the one with the rough voice. No wonder it was only the 2 of them who were talking and the others didn't. Once the others opened their mouths, they would be exposed. Boom! Boom! Chapter 691. Apart from the delicate woman who was a peak tier king, the others were all spiritual ocean tier elites. The strongest was the burly man, who was at the 3rd layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Pung! Pung! At this moment, 7 or 8 figures suddenly flew out from the surrounding soil. What's with all the nonsense? There are still 2 jade swords left. Kill them directly and don't let the last one with the jade sword discover us. Finish this quickly and clean up the scene. One of the white-haired and white-bearded old men spoke, emitting a powerful cultivation at the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. This old man had the cultivation of the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. These people were all from the same faction. Obviously, the people who came here before were all killed by them with thunderous methods. Therefore, Lu Ming didn't discover them when he came here several times. Could it be that Kenfei Ryu is also dead? Lu Ming's heart moved. It was a pity that such a genius died in the hands of these people. Wait, I can give you the jade swords, but you have to let us go. Lu Ming shouted. He pulled Xian Yanqing and moved to the side. Every time he moved, there would be a faint ray of light under his feet that sank into the ground. All right, hand over the jade swords, and I can consider sparing your lives. The burly man sneered. The others revealed mocking smiles. This kid was really naive. How could they let them go? Lu Ming's gaze swept over the surroundings. These people were all experts. Of the 7 people who appeared later, 2 were peak tier kings, and the other 5 were all spiritual ocean tier elites. The strongest was obviously the white-haired old man, who had the cultivation of the 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier. This was definitely a person from a large faction. This force was even stronger than the entire Golden Sand Island. Lu Ming's mind raced. With a move of his hand, the jade sword appeared in his hand. Senior, I'll leave it to you. Lu Ming's true essence suddenly exploded, and the jade sword in his hand turned into a flash of lightning, shooting towards the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man subconsciously reached out to catch it. What Lu Ming wanted was this moment. Pung! Bang! Lu Ming suddenly took 2 steps on the ground. Suddenly, the ground emitted a bright light. Countless inscriptions burst out and turned into 2 swords, slashing towards the south. On the south side, there were only 2 martial artists in the 1st layer of the spiritual ocean tier. Of the 4 directions, that side was the weakest. Lu Ming wanted to break out of the encirclement in the south. Damn it! Inscription formation. When did he carve the inscription formation? With a furious roar, everyone unleashed a powerful aura. But he was still a step too late. Pucci. How could the two Sea of Soul Realm experts have imagined that two mere peak kings would dare to cause trouble? Moreover, they had unknowingly inscribed an inscription array. In his haste, he tried to defend himself, but he was only able to exert 50% of his strength. It was cut in half by the two swords. Go! Lu Ming put his arm around Xian Yinqing's slim waist and used the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps to rush towards the south. In the blink of an eye, they were already 10 miles away. Damn it! Where do you think you're going? The white-haired old man caught the jade sword and instantly let out a furious roar, pointing his finger at Lu Ming. A finger force instantly crossed the 10 miles distance and pointed at Lu Ming's heart. Fast, too fast, and the power was terrifyingly strong. The 4th layer of the spiritual ocean tier was really too strong. Sky Demon Force Field. Destroy. Xian Yinqing tried his best to use the Sky Demon Force Field, wanting to block it. At the same time, Lu Ming's bloodline completely exploded, and his figure continued to flash to the side. Puff! The powerful finger force pierced through Xian Yinqing and Lu Ming's defenses. Although Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, he was still a bit too slow. His arm was grazed by the finger force, and a large piece of flesh was torn off, almost blowing off one of Lu Ming's arms. Wang! Inscriptions flickered on Lu Ming's body, entering his and Xian Yinqing's bodies. These were inscriptions to increase speed. At the same time, inscriptions flashed on Lu Ming's body. These were inscriptions for Zhen Yuan eruption. By now, Lu Ming could instantly inscribe some of the inscriptions that Dandan had used before. Shua! Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps, and his speed was unbelievably fast. In an instant, he was already far away. Behind him, the white-haired old man, the burly man, and the others were chasing at extreme speed. The killing intent on their bodies was so dense that it couldn't be dispersed. They had miscalculated. This time, they had miscalculated. It was just 2 peak-tier kings. With their powerful battle strength, they were already cautious enough to surround 2 peak-tier kings. This was practically a sure-win situation. Not even in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that the 2 peak-tier kings would actually be able to charge out. Last time, they had been careless, and a young man had risked his life to escape. Therefore, this time, they had all moved out and surrounded the 2, but the 2 had still managed to escape. The main reason was that Lu Ming's inscription array was too powerful. It could actually kill 2 experts in the 1st layer of the spiritual sea realm instantly. They chased with all their might, but they realized that Lu Ming's figure was getting farther and farther away. The 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps exploded at full power, and with the help of various inscription arrays, Lu Ming's speed was unbelievably fast. Soon, Lu Ming had already disappeared from the white-haired old man and the others' vision. Damn it, damn it! The white-haired old man roared like a mad demon. The burly man and the others appeared behind the white-haired old man one by one. Their faces were extremely gloomy. Sect leader, that kid's inscription Dao is too powerful. He is definitely a true inscription master, a 6th level true inscription master. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so strong. The burly man said to the white-haired old man. Like I said, the younger you are, the more you have to go all out. The young geniuses are too strong now. We were careless before and let a kid escape. This time, these 2 young men are even more terrifying. That old man said. The young man from before is fine. He was injured by you guys and was hit by my 5 poison palm. He is definitely dead. But these 2, they escaped. It is a bit troublesome. The burly man said. Well, although they escaped, we have already gotten the jade swords. Now, we are only missing the last jade sword. We have to get it quickly and open the Martial Emperor's treasure before the news is leaked. Get the treasures inside and leave here. This time, it is the opportunity for our blood-poisoned sect to rise. There must be no accidents. The white-haired old man said in a deep voice. Sect leader, although the owner of the last jade sword hasn't said anything, I think he will be here soon. This time, we will definitely get it. The burly man said. Then, everyone returned to the small island and continued to lay out their plans and wait. Lu Ming took Xian Yanqing and flew for hundreds of thousands of miles before landing on a small island. Lu Ming, are you okay? Xian Yanqing was extremely worried and looked at Lu Ming with concern. I'm fine. That finger force was extremely poisonous. But poison is useless against me. Lu Ming smiled and controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline to devour the poison on his arm. After the poison was removed, the wound on his arm began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Half a day later, Lu Ming's arm was completely healed. Whoosh! Chapter 692. This time, it was really dangerous. If it weren't for Lu Ming's rapid progress in the path of inscription and the fact that he could inscribe powerful inscription formations, and Lu Ming was cautious enough to secretly inscribe inscriptions when he stepped onto the island, they would be in danger this time. Even if Lu Ming risked his life to take out the Thunder Cauldron, and even if Xian Yanqing had some life-saving means, facing a 4th-layer spiritual ocean tier cultivator, the gap was too big, and they would most likely die. No matter how powerful the Thunder Cauldron was, with Lu Ming's current cultivation as a peak king, he definitely couldn't kill a 4th-layer spiritual ocean tier cultivator. He might not even be able to kill a 3rd-layer spiritual ocean tier cultivator. Kenfei Ryu, what a pity. Lu Ming sighed softly. The world of martial arts was like this. No matter how talented you were, you would fall if you were careless. In the long river of history, countless geniuses had fallen, and those who could truly rise and walk to the peak were few and far between. Xiao Qing, let's go. Those people want to monopolize it, hee, how could we let them have it? Let's give them a big gift. Lu Ming sneered. You want to spread the news? Xian Yanqing said. That's right. Since they want to monopolize it, we can only muddy the waters. Only by doing so can we fish in troubled waters. Lu Ming sneered. That's exactly what I want. It's best if stronger cultivators appear and kill them. Xian Yanqing's eyes flashed with a cold light. Let's go to Wind Moon Island first. This island is bigger than Golden Sand Island. Let's spread the news there. I believe it will soon spread throughout the chaotic astral ocean. Lu Ming took out the map and looked at it. Then, the two of them rose into the air and flew towards Wind Moon Island. There's someone down there. After flying for a short while, Xian Yanqing suddenly pointed at the sea surface and said. Lu Ming looked over and indeed saw a figure floating on the sea surface. There was a golden light on his body, and the fish around didn't dare to get close. That looks like Kenfei Ryu. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The figure on the surface of the sea indeed resembled Kenfei Ryu. The two landed on the surface of the sea. Lu Ming sent out his quintessence and pulled them up. When he looked, he was slightly shocked. This person was actually Kenfei Ryu. Why is Kenfei Ryu here? Lu Ming originally thought that Kenfei Ryu had been killed by that group of people. He's still breathing. He's not dead, but he's deeply poisoned. Xian Yanqing frowned. Let's go back to that island and save people first. Lu Ming said, and the two of them returned to the small island. Kenfei Ryu's body emitted a golden light. It was probably the work of the Golden Sword Pagoda's protector. However, it did not prevent Lu Ming from saving people. He controlled the 9 dragons' bloodline and devoured all the poison in Kenfei Ryu's body. This poison was very powerful. If he had been a few days later, Kenfei Ryu would have died. Once the poison was gone, Kenfei Ryu's quintessence circulated automatically and started to heal. 2 hours later, Kenfei Ryu opened his eyes. "Brother Lu, it's you." Kenfei Ryu was extremely shocked and he saw Lu Ming and the others. "Brother Jian, you're heavily injured. You should heal first," Lu Ming said. "No, wait a moment. Brother Lu, Miss Xia, you must not go to the martial monarch's treasury. The blood poison sect set up a trap there to seize all the jade swords. The others are all dead." Kenfei Ryu cried out anxiously. "Brother Jian, it's too late. We've already been there." Lu Ming smiled faintly. "What? You've been there? Then, you..." Kenfei Ryu was stunned. They had been there, but Lu Ming and the others were fine. "I gave my jade swords to them, but we seized the opportunity and escaped," Lu Ming said. "You gave your jade swords to them? Sigh, what a pity. The martial monarch's treasury is going to fall into the hands of those despicable people." Kenfei Ryu sighed, feeling somewhat unwilling. They want to monopolize the martial monarch's treasury? How can it be that easy? They won't be able to gather the last jade sword. Lu Ming smiled faintly. A jade sword appeared in Xian Yinqing's hand. Kenfei Ryu was stunned, then became overjoyed. Man proposes, God disposes. So Brother Lu and Miss Xia each have 1 jade sword. I wonder what the blood poison sect's people will think when they find out. Oh right, Brother Lu, what are you going to do next? Of course we're going to muddy the waters. The muddier the better. Brother Jian, are you interested in joining us? Lu Ming smiled. Of course, of course. Kenfei Ryu said excitedly. Right at this moment, the jade sword in Xian Yinqing's hand emitted a bright light. Do you want to know their reaction? You'll find out soon. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He took the jade sword in Xian Yinqing's hand and inserted his true yuan into it. Immediately, a rough voice sounded, "Hello friend, the 8 of us are here. Only 1 person is left. Friend, where are you?" It was the burly man's voice. Lu Ming and the other 2 did not say anything. That's right. Friend, you're the only one left. As long as you come over, we can open the martial monarch's treasury and take out the treasures inside. If we delay any longer, I'm afraid unforeseen events will happen. The one who spoke was the timid girl's voice. Cough cough. Lu Ming coughed dryly a few times. The other side immediately became excited. The burly man said, "Brother, where are you? As long as you come over, we can immediately open the martial monarch's treasury." This friend finally spoke. "May I ask where are you? Are you in the chaotic astral ocean?" The timid girl's voice sounded again. "Everyone, how have you been?" At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. Then, the jade sword immediately quieted down. There was no sound at all. After a long while, the rough voice sounded, "It's you?" "Yes, it's me. You guys are so forgetful," Lu Ming said with a smile. You actually have 2 jade swords? How is that possible?" The rough voice was filled with disbelief. "Brother, what do you want?" The timid girl's voice sounded. "Your blood poison sect is powerful. The few of us can't compete with you. Therefore, I plan to bring all the brothers and sisters in the chaotic astral ocean to share the martial monarch's treasury. What do you think? This idea is good, right?" Lu Ming said with a smile. "You want to spread the news?" "No, you can't do that. Damn it, you can't do that. The rough voice roared. Idiot. Lu Ming said. Then, the rough voice's heavy breathing could be heard. It was obviously angry. Little brother, let's talk nicely. I promise you that as long as you come over, we won't touch you. After we enter the martial monarch's treasury, we'll divide the keys equally. What do you think? At this moment, an old voice sounded. It was the voice of the blood poison sect's leader. Not interested. Lu Ming said. Little brother, what do you want? The blood poison sect's leader asked. That's easy. I want your heads. Lu Ming sneered. Little brother, I advise you not to go too far. Otherwise, it won't do you any good. Chapter 693. Old man, has your head been bitten by a dog? You're still threatening me. I'm going to go all out. What can you do about it? Alright, let's get to work. I believe that the news of the martial emperor's treasure will soon spread throughout the Star Sea. Lu Ming smiled. No, boy, don't you dare. I'll kill you. I promise, the sect leader of the blood poison sect roared. But at this moment, Lu Ming stopped injecting true qi, and his voice disappeared. I really want to see the expressions of the people of the blood poison sect. Kenfei Ryu smiled, feeling very comfortable. Their expressions will definitely be very interesting. Lu Ming said. Yes, the expressions of the people of the blood poison sect would be very interesting. Damn it, that bastard. The next time I see him, I'll skin him and pull out his tendons. The burly man roared again and again. His eyes were wide open as if they were about to spit fire. I didn't expect that guy to have 2 jade swords. Damn it. The delicate woman also gritted her teeth, and her eyes were full of resentment. The others were about the same. Their faces were livid, and the veins on their faces were throbbing. The feeling of having nowhere to vent their anger was too uncomfortable. They were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. They were so close to success, but all their efforts were in vain. The next time we meet him, he'll definitely die. The sect leader of the blood poison sect gritted his teeth. Sect leader, what should we do now? Someone asked. 9 keys. Without 1 key, we can't open the martial emperor's treasure. We can only wait. The sect leader said helplessly. A day later, Kenfei Ryu recovered from his injuries. They went to the Wind Moon Island together. The Wind Moon Island was twice as big as the Golden Sand Island. It was very prosperous and crowded. It was said that there were even experts at the 4th level of the spiritual sea realm here. After the 3 entered the city, they bought a lot of paper and wrote the news of the martial emperor's treasure and the specific address on the paper. At night, they spread the paper everywhere. As expected, the whole Wind Moon Island was shocked the next day. Lu Ming and the other 2 had spread too much paper. It was impossible to hide it even if they wanted to. Soon, the news spread all over the Wind Moon Island. Countless people were discussing this topic. In a restaurant, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Kenfei Ryu were eating and drinking while listening to news from nearby. You should have heard the news about the martial emperor's treasure, right? Nearby, the voices of other tables could be heard. Of course I did. Everyone in the Wind Moon Island knows about it now. I wonder if the martial emperor's treasure is real or not. If it is real, why would someone spread the news everywhere? Could it be a prank? I don't know. An emperor's treasure, an emperor. In the entire eastern continent, there are only a few emperors. Is there really an emperor's treasure? It's a little mysterious. No matter what. The martial dominator's treasure is too shocking. Even if there's a 1 in 10,000 chance that it's real, I still have to take a look. If it's real, even the slightest benefit from it would be endless. That's right. I'm just afraid that it's real. Hearing the voices from nearby, Lu Ming and the other two looked at each other and smiled. With such a way of spreading the news, many people would definitely doubt its authenticity. However, the martial emperor's treasure was too shocking and too tempting. Even if they suspected that it was fake, most people would not be able to resist the temptation and would go take a look. This was the effect they wanted. In the next few days, the news spread further and further. Some people had even set off. Lu Ming and the other two hid in the Wind Moon Island and cultivated with all their might. If it was really the martial emperor's treasure, there would definitely be a fierce fight after it was opened. Naturally, the stronger they were, the better. In a mountain range, Lu Ming and Xie Nianqing were fighting with all their might. Now, Xie Nianqing had successfully merged two wills. Now, the main thing was to help Lu Ming merge the earth force and the other three wills. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days had passed. After 7 days of hard cultivation, Lu Ming finally merged the earth force into the three wills. He had successfully merged 3 wills and 1 force. In a guest room of a restaurant, Lu Ming entered the Temple of Paragon and sat cross-legged. There was a pile of esoteric crystals in front of him. There were 22 middle-grade fire attribute esoteric crystals. Lu Ming planned to use the profound crystals to break through to the second level of the state of heaven and earth. If his state could break through to the second level, his battle prowess would definitely increase greatly. He picked up a piece of profound crystal and crushed it. Next to the tree of enlightenment, Lu Ming began to cultivate. Before long, Lu Ming crushed another piece of middle-grade fire attribute profound crystal. Just like that, Lu Ming crushed a total of 12 medium-grade fire profound crystals. Then, Lu Ming stopped. Just a little bit more, but just a little bit more. I still can't break through. Lu Ming muttered. Right now, his fire intent was just a little bit away from the second level, not even half a step. However, it was just a little bit, and he couldn't break through. It seems that the second-level concept of heaven and earth is indeed different from the first-level concept of heaven and earth. It's not something that can be continuously improved by simply relying on profound crystals. It also needs to rely on comprehension to break through the bottleneck, and then combine it with profound crystals to continuously improve. Lu Ming pondered. It was obvious that the fire intent had reached a bottleneck. Lu Ming didn't continue to break through to the fire intent. Instead, he took out a medium-grade wind profound crystal and started to break through to the wind intent. Just like the fire intent, after refining a dozen medium-grade wind profound crystals, his wind intent also reached the peak of the first level. It was just a little bit away from the second level, but it was still stuck. Lu Ming shook his head and smiled bitterly. It was very difficult to break through to the second level of the state of heaven and earth. No wonder there were so many peak kings, but so few Sea of Soul realm experts. Taking the Tianxian region's Tianxian branch palace as an example, all the elders, traveling elders, and those in seclusion, there were at least 50 peak king level experts, or even more. However, there were only 2 Sea of Soul realm experts, Shengtsang and Mu Tian. Golden Sand Island had sent out more than 500 peak kings to fight against the sea beasts. Moreover, many of them died on the fate battle platform. However, how many Sea of Soul realm experts were there? As long as one's talent wasn't bad and had enough resources, it wasn't hard to reach the peak king level with time. Some people could reach the peak king level after cultivating for a few hundred years. However, many people would be stuck at the peak king level, unable to break through for the rest of their lives. One could imagine how difficult it was to break through to the spiritual sea realm. At this time, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. It was about time for them to leave. After a while, Lu Ming, Xie Nianqing, and Kenfei Ryu flew toward the Martial Emperor's Treasure Island. A few days later, they arrived at the island. There was a sea of people, truly a sea of people. It was densely packed, and at a glance, it was all human figures. There were too many, at least a few 100,000, or even close to 1,000,000. And this was only the people who had rushed over from the chaotic astral ocean. The people from the other ocean regions hadn't arrived yet. The three of them squeezed their way through the crowd. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.